What's going on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? We are back in another segment of Talking Sports with myself, Coach Brad Miller, aka Coach Hot Sauce, aka Coach Applesauce, man of many names, and Coach Nathan West, our sprint-based expert for the show.
Yeah, not as much of an expert as I don't even know.
I'm trying to market it right now, so I'm not fully paying attention. We have a lot to discuss today, and it's not going to be fun for the first time. It's not going to be fun for anybody besides maybe Bama stuff, but that's about it.
Yeah.
None of it's going to be fun. A lot happened yesterday. A lot. First topic. Let me do my thing here. I guess we'll talk Ohio State Clemson first. Just get out of the way because I know we talked a lot of shit about Ohio State. And I did personally too. I did my own episodes of podcasts. I was like, Ohio State just doesn't belong here. And then it just, yeah.
See, that's what happens when you go rogue and you have your own podcast. You don't have me and old Hot Saucy here to reel you back in.
Well, I did. I did that by myself. I did my own thing and I went off, not off. I just kind of said, if you looked at it before the game even started, if you actually looked at it, like we all talked about, Ohio State technically shouldn't have been there. But then technically they should have because they won their conference. But we'll get to that when we talk about, what the F NCAA. But technically we were right. At the time, looking at it, we were like, other teams deserve this more than they do. Not their fault, but it's just what it is.
You know what's crazy? So I didn't bring this up on the podcast because it ruined my argument. But, if you extrapolate their season across 11 games, they basically have the same exact opponent record as like Texas A&M. So that's why I didn't bring it up.
It's just hurting more and more. It's only 3 minutes.
Extrapolated across, I still hate Ohio State. I hope they get blown out by Alabama. And I hope that I'm not cursing them right now, but I think part of it was Ohio State just played their best game of the year. And none of us had actually seen that kind of performance all year. I watched them twice have take the ball out of Justin Fields' hands and hand it to the Sermon kid, which that's a WTF NCAA section. But why in the hell can't Illinois get immediately eligible transfers is just beyond me. But it's Ohio State, so they gotta bend the rules all the time for them. But yeah, I'll eat crow on this. I didn't have my own little podcast, so that I'm not eating like a turkey-sized crow. But
it's not fun.
Ohio State came out and they wanted it, and I think Clemson came out like Notre Dame did against Louisville and thought that, oh well, we can just do this and we'll walk all over them because it's Ohio State. And they lit a fire under Ohio State, and I don't think I've ever seen them I know I haven't seen them play like that this whole entire year.
Yeah, I mean, going back to it, the only good game they had was Indiana. And like we talked about, Indiana was a pick six and something else happened in that game away.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we're going to be all over the place on this topic. We're going to go all over on this.
Yeah. One. Here's the thing. I think that we weren't wrong for saying what we did about Ohio State. I still feel okay about it.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't play games. You know what I mean? And yeah, they came out, and Dabo has to kind of feel some of this because he talked a lot of shit. Right? Yeah. Probably fired.
He wrote it because he ranked them 11th.
Yeah, exactly. And then stood by it after the game.
Well, kind of like he's going by what we were saying. Like, if you looked at it, technically, did they deserve it over? He was looking at the amount of games played because in his mind, it's like, why do we play 11 games then? We could have just played 6. That's his whole thing.
Because there's an injury risk in football. I mean, My team put it on the line 5 more times than yours did.
Yeah.
You know,
And there are a couple things that, like, I've never seen a team cramp up so much in my life.
ETN was cramping up in the first quarter.
The entire team.
What was going on there? That made me wonder, like, what was with the diet? Because when you've played 11 games, your neuromuscular, like, all of that stuff's adapted to the game.
Yeah, at 11 games in, you're stretched out and ready. Like, they had to have just prepared. Like, I think you're right. From the diet side of it, somebody fucked up. And I don't know if it's their training staff or if the players, like you said, didn't take this game as seriously, so they didn't do the prep they should have. But they looked bad.
Yeah, because people want to say, like, oh, well, they just didn't hydrate. Cramping is so much more than hydration.
Absolutely.
Like, there's a lot more to it. And depending on what you got coming into your body, depending on, like, you know, people cramp up early in the season because if people just practice half-ass, and this goes to the sprint-based football side of things, like, if you're not going at game speed in practice, which if you have a long practice, you can't do. I'm just throwing that out there. You cramp more because you're demanding a higher output of your body that it's not used to. So, and then obviously the diet's right up your alley, Brad. But it was something was freaking off because you don't start all of a sudden you're cramping in your calves in the first quarter on a kick return.
But like, here's the thing, it wasn't just ETN though.
Right, it was a lot of them.
Half the team.
Well, because with ETN, I was going to say, when you get hit a certain way, that can cause it too, right? Like if you get like a Charlie horse, and when it first happened to him, I thought maybe he got hit and then landed on it, and that's what caused it. But then you're seeing corners standing there stretching out. You're seeing other wide receivers stand there and stretch out. I'm like, did they have too much pizza at their party when they got the playoff? Because that's what Dabo does. I'm like, what just happened?
It was weird.
So here's the thing. Before a lot of those games, like, the team feeds and hydrates you.
Yeah.
In these big-time programs, like, they have it down. A lot of them, like University of Illinois even has a dietitian on staff that just does football.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, 48 hours pregame, a lot of times everything is given to you that you need. Mm-hmm. And each individual player is like, they run and do the math to figure out exactly what you need for this. And I don't know if that was a fuck up by their training staff, but something was off, and it was off bad. That was just something that I saw that, like, hit me kind of close to home, because I think there had to have been a mess up there, or the players went outside of what they should have been doing. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing, which you guys can jump off of this, but I love Clemson's defense. Steve and I talked about this earlier in the year. Like, I love watching Clemson's defense because I think it's so unique in how it's run, which I've always assumed it's a 4-2-5.
It's a 3-2-6.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And then he can bounce around to like a 3-5, and then if he really wants to, go to a 4-2.
Because I kept seeing, like, they would jump from 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers to 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers.
Yeah, the 2's pretty solid, but I think based on the situation, it's a defensive lineman sub. And
they have like a hybrid safety that plays close to, which it's a cool defense to see. But I think that defense, like, we've seen enough of Clemson, you need those 2 linebackers to, one, be really smart and communicate well. And I think it hurt Clemson that half of their linebacking core was out in the first half, and then the other guy got ejected.
Yeah.
So they never went through a period of time where their defense was communicating well. Mm-hmm. Which sucks to see, because, like I said, I love that defense. And we said before we started rolling, Brent Venables is probably the best defensive coordinator in the NCAA. It was just weird to see that happen.
Yeah. I think at some point, so like there's gamesmanship that everybody plays. So like, I don't know if you guys know this, but like, Coach Plotner, formerly of Salt Fork, like he was very big on like his things, right? And I think he was trying to call way too much and waiting way too late because they said, in the thing, which I didn't know this, but like he tries to call his defense after the offense is called. But if they don't call the offense till 6 seconds left in the play clock, good luck trying to get the call in, get everybody aligned and be able to play. Because that was at the second touchdown, they had 8 guys to the right of the center.
Yep.
And then they ran a play to the left. It was almost like he was trying to do too much. He was trying to call the slants because if you call a slant correctly into a zone play, like it blows it up. But if you call a slant incorrectly, it don't look good.
And you even said at one point, like, just let your better athletes be better athletes.
Yeah.
Well,
Just almost like two gap it or read what the hell's going on and do your thing,
Well, because everybody should know this. Like when you see if I'm looking at the offense and the running back's on the left side, I'm like, oh, he's probably going to come this way because he's opposite. Ohio State did a really good job of they ran that wide zone. I don't think they ran a play besides outside zone the entire game.
I don't think they pulled anybody now that I can think of it.
If they did, no, they did on that touchdown. It was like a pin and pull where they scored that. You just talked about they had 8 guys on the right, so they were like quickly they pin and pulled it or whatever, that full block. People were talking about this. If you run zone and it's made to cut back, sometimes Clemson slanted the right way. If they ran a zone to the left, they slanted the right way. Then you have to have a guy back to stay there for the cutback. And the times they didn't, there was times there was no one there. And I'm like, okay. Then there's times there was, and Ohio State's running back was just a better athlete.
Yeah.
And that's where I don't like a 3-3 or a 3-2 look because of those situations.
Yeah, I feel like with a 3-4, you at least have that backside outside linebacker kind of like, okay, if this guy cuts back, I'm not letting him bounce it outside of me. I'm going to funnel him back to the middle linebacker who's got to be basically able to make the play.
And then when we'll get to the hit. I'm just going to generalize this first. When he got hurt and he kept handing the ball off and he was like, couldn't even walk.
Yeah.
If I'm a D coordinator, and this is just the thing of football, I'm a D coordinator. I'm like, okay, I'm no longer telling my D end or my outside linebacker, because in a zone read, you have to have a guy sit there for the quarterback and a guy for the running back.
Yep.
And when I saw him not be able to move, I'd be like, screw it. No longer am I going to have a guy sitting there for him. We're just going to go tackle him. But they didn't. They just kept doing what they were doing. I'm like, do you not see him not walking?
I think they didn't. So this is just me looking on the outside. It's easy to coach from like Saturday, right? Like we've never been it. But I thought it was very interesting. They didn't try and unseat him from his spot in the pocket. They let Justin Fields just sit in the pocket, and they'd bring 3 guys and drop 8. And they were still completing passes. So why would you not at least bring 5? And then every time they brought pressure, it was up the middle. They weren't getting anywhere. But every time they got somebody off the edge, they were normally hitting him. He had to step up in the pocket, and then they were getting to him. But like they did not bring it off the edge very often. And every time they hit him, he got up way slower because I think it, unsettled that injury. But dropping 8, you're not pressuring anybody. And kudos to Ohio State's line. Had a dude playing center that had never played or hadn't played or was at Clemson. Ohio State was without their left guard, though, because of COVID protocol. So kudos to them for giving him time to throw the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But Clemson dropping 8, I don't think that you beat Ohio State dropping 8. I think you've got to bring pressures.
That being said, though, like how many times this year have we said Justin Fields is not a pocket quarterback?
Yeah. Well, but his injury made him have to be.
Yeah. Which kudos to Justin Fields. He played the game of his life.
Hurt.
That goes back to what we were saying. He's never played he played good last year, really good. But my thing with Justin Fields was he has to have this talent around him to do that. And I hate excuses. They talked about it at the beginning of the game. What's that receiver's name for Ohio State that came back? I don't even know what his name is. He didn't play at against Northwestern.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Justin Fields was just locking onto a receiver the whole time. Well, now he's got this guy, so now he's actually going through his progression. I'm like, that should never be a question. If you're an elite quarterback, you should always go through your progression, regardless of who you have or not. Look at Mike Leach's offenses. His quarterbacks do it, and they don't have this all-star receiver all the time. And that's what I hate about Justin Fields. But this is the best game Justin Fields probably ever played, ever.
Yeah.
I think his injury actually made him a better quarterback, if that makes sense, because I think he was too worried about being a running back or running, He knew that mobility was there, right? But when your mobility is taken away, you've either got to be sharp with your arm or there's no point in you being on the field.
And he was.
Yeah.
Really.
Dude, he threw some darts where I was like, holy shit. I mean, literally inches away from an outstretched hand of a cornerback.
That was the first time I've seen him make multiple throws that said to me, like, oh, you're an NFL quarterback.
Yeah. The two like post routes where like he hit him in the defender's hands here and the ball comes in just right over I was like, damn. Like, and one was 61 yards in the air. And that's off of his right. So his right side, the leg that you would drive off of to deliver the ball, he couldn't drive off of it because it hurt. Couldn't even hardly get on a bike.
And on the opposite ends of the spectrum, I watched Trevor Lawrence do some shit that's like, you try that in the NFL, you're going to have a real short career.
If Trevor Lawrence's last name was Trubisky, he would be obliterated right now. But he's everybody's poster child. I saw somebody tweeted that out. If his last name was Trubisky, he would be obliterated today. But because he's the golden boy and he won a national championship his freshman year with, let's be honest, a lot of quarterbacks could have won a national championship with that team. Because I think all four of their defensive linemen were like first-round picks throughout 2 years. And I mean, they had a middle linebacker that was trying to diddle people's butts. I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah, he'd come in there with the old thumb Ruski. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people could have won with that team. And like I was talking to a friend who's a Jaguars fan. I said, what is it with Lawrence? Because he's under 50% on his throws over 10 yards. Like, deep ball is kind of important in the league because as far as side to side, everybody's fast in the NFL. So you're not going to out-athlete somebody because everybody's a great athlete. So he said it was just the consistency of winning, and that he does have a live arm. Like there was some throws where he drove off and I was like, oh shit, that was a rope, but it was very inconsistent. And I think Ohio State did a really good job pressuring him.
My thing was he threw a lot of deep balls last night off his back foot.
Yeah.
And they were air balls, like throwing up 50-50s.
Yeah.
And that's not going to play, especially if you go to the Jaguars, who outside of Chark.
You're going to throw it to DJ Chark.
Yeah. Like that's all and I hope he realizes that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure he does. But in the next level, like you're going to a team with no talent.
Yeah.
There's a reason they have the number one pick. You're going from the second most talented team in the NCAA to you got DJ Chark, and that's it.
Yeah.
And Glennon coaching you on the sideline.
Yeah.
And Minshew challenging you for your job.
You're gonna have this mustache and hair in front of you when you show up.
I want Minshew to go to the Bears. I think it'd be an awesome.
He would be a Jim McMahon style quarterback.
Absolutely.
It's not the hero Chicago deserves, but it's the hero Chicago needs.
Because could you imagine him showing up in a jock strap and aviators to the first practice?
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's all. Yeah.
And I can see that happening.
Like the best thing I've ever heard about Minshew was Minshew, you could plug him into any Florida man story. Like, I don't know.
He would sit there and be warming up in just a jock strap before a game.
So if
doing his thing.
Get back on track here. So if Justin Fields has another 5 touchdown game against Alabama, is he the first pick?
No.
No.
You don't think so?
Nope.
If he did this his whole career, yes.
I mean, he kind of did.
But
Well,
he didn't do it this year, though.
The year he had more touchdowns than incompletions.
But he didn't do it this year.
No, that was this year.
Like, but who did he play? The best team he's played was Indiana, where he threw like 3
Northwestern.
interceptions. And then
Northwestern, after their performance yesterday, I think they're better than what we thought.
Yeah.
But they were also playing pretty damn inspired because that was their last game with the defensive coordinator.
Oh, he retired?
Yeah.
That was his last game.
Yeah.
But kudos to Northwestern, though, because they even said it yesterday. They were like, you have Venables here, probably one of the best defensive coordinators we've ever seen, not be able to slow Ohio State down. Then you had Fitzgerald at Northwestern slowing them down.
Well, because honestly, I think Ohio State depends on that run game. And Venables can stop a spread. Well, they didn't last night. Can stop a spread. A 3-2-6 is not a run defense. Right?
No.
You got 6 defensive backs out there.
It is a run defense if you're the Baltimore Ravens.
With Ray Lewis?
No, because that's what they run now.
Really?
Yeah. Have you watched a Ravens game?
No.
It's all defensive backs. Like it is a copy and paste version of Clemson's defense.
I think that Clemson's line's actually not that bad, but they're just young. Like that Breezy kid, he's number one like recruit lad. Dude, that kid's gonna be a freaking stud. Because he's a stud this year. Just waiting a couple of years. But I don't think that they had like that one year they had Cleveland Farrell and Christian Watkins and all these freaking dudes. They didn't necessarily have that. You know what I mean? They had a guy. Yeah.
On this team.
And that's the same way I feel with Alabama. Like Alabama doesn't have those like Ashawn Robinsons and stuff like that.
Oh, on defense?
Yeah.
I was about to say they have the names on offense.
No, they have plenty of names on offense. And I think that's the other thing is I wonder if because they basically have 3 Heisman candidates, they got to make sure everybody gets there. So that allows Alabama to stay balanced.
Yeah.
Whereas like you look at like Indiana, when they played Ohio State, like they put the ball in Fields' hands and he didn't do so hot. And then that ultimately the Indiana game was where they realized, oh, we have this running back named Trey Sermon. He's a hell of a running back. And then they started running him more, and that made Fields better. Kind of like a running game made Baker Mayfield better at Oklahoma. And a running game made him better
kind of like a running game makes Baker Mayfield better on the Browns.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
Same story over and over again. If you have a quarterback that isn't a pure like pocket guy,
right?
Like run some version of Kyle Shanahan's offense. But
what confused me was, people are commenting on the Facebook one, and it's not popping up on here. So sorry, Moose. I know you're commenting, talking a lot of shit, but it can't pop up on here. It just looked like Clemson was more worried about the pass. And I'm like, did you not watch the Northwestern game where he had 300 some yards rushing?
Yeah.
I'd be more worried about that. Like I said,
that would be my game plan, is to shut down Sermon. And I couldn't believe after the first half, after that hit, they didn't do more of that, where it was like, you know what, we're just going to eliminate this part of the game because he is blowing us up. Like, Sermon was all over the damn place. And as he goes, they get more and more explosive.
And
so the question is, though, like, did Clemson have the horses to put more dudes in the box and get pressure on Fields?
I would think so, but I was just getting ready to say, who was the corner or the safety that had to sit out the first half?
No, is their other linebacker?
No, it was like one of their backs, like their corner safety.
Their safety, their starting safety.
He got
Oh,
a
yeah.
he had a targeting call against Notre Dame, and they talked about that. And that's where you saw the breakdowns. Like in the box, they were okay because they had their linebacker. It was when they gave up those big pass plays, they started to say, well, they don't have, because in a 4-2-5 and this 3-2, you send in a play call for just the box. So like in a 4-2-5 that I've been around, you have this play call for your linemen and linebackers. And then you wait for them to spread out in their offense. Then you give a play for the corners and safeties of like what you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you don't have and it's supposed to be communicated. That's why TCU, you see them always like talking to each other because they have to communicate what's going on. When you don't have the leader in the backfield, you don't have that. So you're expecting the middle linebacker to do all of it. And that's where you saw
you lose your middle linebacker.
Then you lose him, and now you're like, well, shit. Like, what do we do now?
You got the guy on the back end trying to communicate to everybody on the front end what the hell to do.
Yeah.
They never really had their full defense out there because of,
But then again, you can't make
what we will call it.
You can't make too many excuses for them. Like Ohio State whooped their ass.
Dude, yeah. I don't even think having both of them in the game, still got to score points. They had their offense the whole damn time.
Well, that's another thing, people listening. The offense coordinator from Clemson was, I don't know if did he have COVID or is it just COVID?
Yeah, COVID. Yeah. He tested positive.
So when I texted that to you guys, I actually kind of worried. But then I thought about it. I was like, sometimes we always say Jimmy's and Joe's. I'm like, oh, Clemson has the Jimmy's and Joe's to keep up no matter who's calling the plays. And I should have shot myself in the foot because I've said this for a while. It's Jimmy's and Joe's, but it also has to be some X's and O's. You can have the Jimmy's and Joe's. It's how you put them in a situation to win. And you saw that they did not have the same play calling. And whoever they hired to do it, he knows more football than we do. But I'm watching this and I'm like, good God.
Like the quarterback's coach. I mean, he should know Trevor Lawrence better than anybody, right?
Right. And then we said this before we recorded for an hour when we were talking. Dabo should have just taken over, either before the game, just coming in and saying, you know what, this is a big game. I've talked a lot. They have the revenge factor. I'm going to call the plays. And then at halftime, when you haven't scored, you should have just been the head coach. Like, you know what? I'm going to take over.
You don't even have to tell anybody that you're taking over. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, just do it.
Yeah, you just do it. You don't tell anybody. You don't talk about it. Just be like, hey, clearly something ain't rolling. This is what I got to do. And as somebody who wants to win, like, okay, that's my teachable moment. Like, as that coach, I wouldn't be as like, it would suck to know, like, oh, my play calling sucks. This is extravagant. But at the same time, like, wanting to win the game, I think we all do whatever we can to try and win, right?
Right. Like, there would have been a good, like you said, if he told this guy, hey, or I don't know how they did. We have no idea how this went down. He could have said, you know what? You look at the run game. I'm going to look at the pass game, like Dabo, since he's a wide receivers coach. Like, you look at this, I'll look at this. And since you're the head coach, this guy could say, what about this? Dabo could just say, no, let's call this. And he's going to call it. So you don't have to defeat this guy.
Right.
But I think it's easier for Dabo to take over since this guy wasn't the true offensive coordinator.
Right.
If it was the true OC and he said, no, I'm taking over, that guy will leave. He's going to go somewhere else.
Yeah. And so that would, and I think there's something to be said when you don't have your offensive coordinator, how many adjustments can you actually make? You don't know the dynamic of their coaching staff and how they look at things, but I'd like to think that an offensive coordinator can be like, okay, this is what we're getting. This is what we're not getting. So we need to call more of this. You don't know how good that guy is at making adjustments.
Right.
He might be some freaking wizard at halftime. We just don't know.
Well, and that's what we've said that about Clemson millions of times. Venables can adjust to anything at halftime, and Clemson's offense usually adjusts at halftime. That's what gave Bama trouble before, was adjustments.
Yep.
And not saying Nick Saban doesn't, but just showed how great Clemson is at doing that. And so going into the game, I was like, oh, that's fine. And then watching the first half, I'm like, this play caller is more important than we all realized. Like, I think, because if I ever see a fake toss quarterback power counter ever again, I'm going to pour hot sauce in my eyes because
That shit like works like in high school.
it works.
Barely.
If you can get the toss working and then you do that once or twice a game, that thing only works once or twice a game. And I think I texted you guys. I was like, they're down 20 points and they're running this. I'm like, what are you doing? Trevor Lawrence can run a little bit. He can run a little bit, but it's not. You could do that with Justin Fields, but you can't do. I don't think it works that well with him.
I hate those slow developing run plays out of the backfield, out of the spread. You're in the spread to be fast, and then you run some fake ass toss. It just takes forever. And the whole damn time, because Ohio State's defensive line was playing out of their minds, that line of scrimmage, you're back here, and that line of scrimmage is just coming in like this. So by the time, and if you're trying to pull people and your guys are getting their butts whooped up front, like that's what penetration kills pullers, right? If I manhandle the center and knock him back into the guard, there's nothing there. And if you looked in that game sometimes, Clemson pullers were having to go around guys that were in the backfield.
Right, because
so it was too slow.
Because like
Ohio State was playing at 100 miles an hour.
Because like Brad, we can get taught this at Oakwood. There's different ways to run power and pullers. Power works better when you skip pull, where you stay to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to the left, your right foot comes.
I do know some things about football.
I'm just saying, like we did not learn this. We did not learn this because we ran that toss where we have to open up and go.
Yeah.
It works better when you step back, push off that foot you just stepped off with, and sprint to the hole.
Mm-hmm.
But when you step back and your center getting blown back into your hip, and now you have to turn and open up. And kudos to, I talked a lot of shit about Ryan Day. I talked a lot of shit. He kept tight ends into block. He kept this into block. And he didn't do that with Northwestern. And
then he threw all the tight ends.
Yeah.
And they caught it. I mean, that one, there's one that I'm thinking of. Dude, it was like seam route. It was either a seam or a really skinny post, one or the other. But
it was that skinny post.
Huh?
It was that skinny post
where it was like perfect. Like
it went right over that defensive guy's fingers.
Yeah. Like that was a throw where I was like, okay, well, Ohio State's gonna make me like go have to unsay some of the things that I said because I said that Fields wasn't a good throw. You know, like, I mean, I just didn't think Justin Fields could do it. But I truly do think that taking away his mobility made him a better quarterback.
But in our defense, against Northwestern, they ran like 3 posts, and he overthrew them by 6 yards.
That's true. But did Northwestern pressure him a lot? Like, was he like – did he have people up in his face?
Yeah, because what they did was they tried to bring 5. Now, necessarily they didn't hit him, but they kind of kept him in the pocket because they knew he wanted to run. But like you said, he couldn't run anymore. So it forced him to do this. I think he's worse when he wants to run, actually.
Yeah.
Because I think what Northwestern did, if my memory serves me right, is they had their 4 linemen, they pushed, and they would bring up the 5th guy. Now, they necessarily wouldn't hit him, but they were like, if we can just keep this, V around him and force him to throw it, we're going to be okay. And I said this earlier. Do you guys remember when Bama had to play Clemson in that first round playoff? And that was just a high energy game, and Alabama won. They gave Clemson everything they had and won. Then they went to go play Georgia in the national championship, and they just looked like tired.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what's going to happen when we get to it. I feel like Ohio State, this was their championship. They were like, I'm tired. We're tired of losing to Clemson. Dabo talked a lot, which can we talk about that for a second? How many Dabo haters are there right now? There's a lot.
Yeah. Well, because you got every Ohio State fan is now like some people like Dabo because they thought he was a good dude. And I have no doubt that he is a good dude. And he truly does preach the family thing. But yeah, I think he's experiencing some foot and mouth, just kind of like everybody in the United States that isn't an Ohio State fan.
But did you see this? This is one of the most idiotic things I saw. They said, well, he better stay at Clemson or go to the NFL because no college will hire him after this. And I said, what? Like, that's what I'm seeing now. It's multiple. It's not just one, it's multiple. And I'm like, what? And then it's like, people need a reality check on Dabo. He has the Michael Jordan thing where he tries not to upplay everything because he wants everybody to like stay on the ground.
Right.
And then he doesn't make up things, but he tries to pull things as motivation. So people need to realize that. Like, he does the Michael Jordan thing where he's going to pull things, put them together, and say, this is how I motivate my team. And he's not wrong. He was like, yeah, we watch film because there's only 6 games. Yeah, he said it in a jackass way, but at the same time, he was true. It was honest. Like, this is going to be a quick study. We only have 6.
Yeah.
And that's almost worse for their team because you only have 6 games to see what they do, and they have 11 on you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, tell me what Big Ten team other than Ohio State wouldn't take Dabo Swinney?
Right.
If they said, hey, your head coach will be gone, you get Dabo on the same contract, money's not an issue. Because with Dabo comes Venables. Because they're like 2 peas in a pod.
Tied together.
Yeah.
Which,
And-
how great is that?
Oh, it's unbelievable to see.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. Like, as much as like I heard, with the whole Auburn thing, Steve, that you had kind of mentioned, with Malzahn's defensive coordinator and all that kind of stuff.
That was me.
You. Yeah, there you go, Brad. How good was it? How good was it to watch them lose with that defensive coordinator as the interim coach? And it was like, you're a backstabbing son of a gun. And honestly, a lot of those coaches, like, dude, they will kind of cut each other to kind of get ahead. But honestly, like, their relationship, like, is like second to none as far as like head coach to assistant. Like, I'm trying to think like maybe Belichick and Josh McDaniels is pretty damn close.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of coaching, waiting.
Yeah.
But
then you look at like Sarkisian and Saban. Is Sarkisian doing the same thing?
I don't know. They were talking like during that first game, they brought it up 3 or 4 times about him leaving for another job.
Yeah, but then he is the highest paid assistant now in college football.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he said that he was going to go interview at Auburn, and then which, you know what? You're only as good as the shit you can sell, right? So good for him, getting that money. If it's there, I mean.
And the nice thing is, like, if you're a high-level assistant like that, you get all the praise and almost none of the blame.
Yeah. Because if the team plays bad, it's the head coach's fault.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Sarkisian's not going to leave until it's the right one. Like, Lane left because he had enough and was like, I'm taking this job at Florida Atlantic.
Well, Lane Kiffin was like, you have a peacock here.
Like,
and you're under there. There's no flying. Right. And Lane Kiffin wants to fly and say weird shit on Twitter.
He should have went to LSU. What if he went to LSU with Ed? That would have been awesome.
Would have been the best.
Yeah.
That would have been the best coaching staff ever.
Yeah.
Just from pure entertainment.
Well, you think about it, though, Lane Kiffin, if there's a head job out there, he has a hard time not taking.
Yeah.
Like, how many times has he not taken a head job to be a coordinator? I don't think that's ever. I think if he's got a head job, like offensive coordinator at LSU or Alabama, head coach at Florida Atlantic. Yeah. I'm going to go to Florida Atlantic. Like.
Cool stuff there.
Yeah.
Like, they were fun to watch.
He messed up. If he would have stayed one more year, because the school was paying off his house for him.
Mm-hmm.
And if he would have stayed one more year, it would have been paid off. But since he left, he has to pay them back.
Oh, shit.
Which he's got
it, but
I'm sure part of the deal with like Florida Atlantic or whatever. Oh no, you're talking Florida Atlantic was paying for his house.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
school said that if you stay for, I think it was 3 or 4 years, I think 4 years, the house would have been paid off or something. But if he leaves before then, he has to pay them back.
Well, I'm sure that Ole Miss was like that was part of the contract negotiation. Hey, I got this house deal on the back end over here. Can you guys take care of that for me? Oh yeah.
Do you remember back in the day, Les Miles had it written into his contract that he had to be the highest paid coach in the SEC?
What?
No,
Yeah. So remember, because he was there right at the beginning of Alabama's run.
Yeah.
And then I remember LSU had a down year. They were like 8 wins, and they paid Saban for the first time.
Oh.
LSU bumped his contract up $50 more.
What a hell of a contract. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
What
the
an
best thing I've ever heard.
what an
you
age
know
it
what?
is.
I don't want to be the highest paid, like I just want to be the highest paid coach in our conference. Just make it a number.
Yeah. Whoever's the highest paid, and I want, $50 more than they make.
Which is just insane. Because
So-
you got built-in raises as long as you have longevity.
Because
So-
the SEC is so competitive, there's always some new school paying some crazy contract.
Yeah.
So
Like,
it's
they went from paying him like $8 million a year to like Coach Ogeron. Oh yeah, I guess we'll take you $3 million. And Coach Ogeron's like, how many crawfish is that?
so what you're telling me is if he was getting paid $5.4 million, and then Nick Saban got paid more, he'd be like, oh, hold on, it's got to be $5.4 million, $50. Like,
I'm telling you, look it up. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
so breaking news: Tom Herman was fired from Texas.
What?
That was going to happen.
Urban Meyer question mark?
Texas fires coach Tom Herman after saying he remained coach of Longhorns for a 5th season. So they said he was coming back, then they fired him.
There you go.
Did they win? Or lose their bowl game?
They won big.
Oh, that's rough.
They beat Colorado by like 30 points,
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. If you're Texas,
and they played without Sam.
it's got to piss you off when you actually play well. And it's like, where is this at the rest of the time?
But they play without Sam Ellinger too. So I'm like, he was the problem. That was the
Yeah,
problem.
he wasn't a good. We talked about this on the podcast, Steve.
Yeah, he's not a good leader, but we're getting way off now. I just want
He's,
to
he's not. A good,
Ogeron in his book said Ellinger was like the best leader he'd ever seen.
yeah, I think he's a good leader. He's just not a good quarterback.
he's not a good quarterback.
It's like Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is just a running back. He's an H-back, let's be honest.
Yeah, Bo Nix is probably a great dude. Probably
Yeah.
not a great quarterback.
Somebody from Alabama. No, I'm not even going to say it because it was on Twitter and that shit's dangerous.
Yeah.
And all that shit.
Okay, Steve, move us along. Take
But
us.
let's talk about the hit. That's where I got in trouble, was the hit, because I went off about it. We went off in the text. I was like, screw it, I'm going off everywhere. Yes, he should not have had his head down. That's the dangerous part. So I guess technically targeting, I guess, but it shouldn't be an ejection, because wasn't targeting made for like if a wide receiver's coming across the middle of the field and a guy lunges himself with his head down into his head, that's targeting.
Here's what targeting was for, to protect this thing up here. That's what it was for, because receivers would come across the middle and these safeties would leave their feet and just clock receivers in the head. And crackback blocks. That was another thing they tried to. There would be dudes who would literally headhunt on like an interception or something and just try and take a shot at somebody. And the further away you are from the play, the wider it got, as far as like, it didn't even have to be if it was clear on the other side of the field, you're at least getting an unsportsmanlike conduct flag out of the deal. Like, but it was made to protect heads because of the concussion thing. That was really when it came out.
So now you got where, here's the thing. I think the hit yesterday should have been like a 15-yard penalty, maybe. Yep. And the reason why is because his head is down. But like we were talking before, he's on his knee, so he's really low to the ground. It's really hard to do a good form tackle when you're so low to the ground. But then Field spin moves, which opens up his back for that.
Mhm.
And then we said this before. I can't say this guy's last name. I'm Polish. He's Polish, but he's from the motherland. I'm from Vermilion County. There's a little difference. Skalski, Sklasky, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a brick house. So in Fields, when they collided, and that's what made it look bad. If Fields would have hit him and he went back, no, nothing would have been done. But since they hit it, he's a brick house and he went forward and it looks bad. They're like, oh, it's targeting.
My problem is, and I think, Nathan, you said this, like, it's never called the other way. The amount of times you see a running back lower the crown of their helmet and just maul somebody,
Yep.
That never once has been called.
No. Nope.
It's impossible for a defender. And we talked about this before, but Jeff Schwartz, if you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. He's pretty electric. He went off about the whole thing. And he said the best thing I've ever heard. Like, the replay should only be played at game speed. When you're reviewing it, you should only look at that not in slow motion. Because every hit in football looks like targeting if you put it in slow motion.
Yeah.
It wasn't more of his shoulder than his head. Yeah, his head was down, but his shoulder is what made the impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Depending on what freeze frame you looked at, it was targeting or it wasn't targeting. But targeting to me, so like this whole new thing with like the hawk tackling and stuff like that, Steve, you know, the Seahawks came out with it, all that stuff. They talk about the strike zone from like, you know, basically the middle of your chest through your hips. That's the strike. He literally hit him in the strike zone.
Yep.
Like what they're trying to tell every high school team to do. Which, you want to know what? Did he put himself at risk lowering his head like that? Oh, yeah. His neck was compressed to a different level that it probably has ever been. But that's on the defender. He put himself at risk. He was not putting Fields really at risk. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, with the force that impact was delivered, if he hit him solid with the shoulder, he's still going to feel that, and it's going to hurt like a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still probably going to break something. Like, I don't care if you hit him with the crown of your helmet or with your shoulder, but shoulder pads are hard fucking plastic.
So the question is, if that's any other quarterback other than like Fields or Lawrence, do they throw a flag?
If that's an SEC game, they don't throw a flag.
Yeah.
And the thing
it's
is,
a University of Illinois quarterback.
no, they would.
No, because they would be hitting our four stringer depending on what game it was.
Yeah, it's all names.
But what if they threw the flag because of how big the impact was? If he was still spinning, like when he spun, he just kind of stopped. If he just continued to spin and it was like a roll tackle on his legs, nothing would have happened. But since it was such a big impact and Justin Fields is the one that went flying, that's why they threw it.
I'm not going to lie. I hopped up out of my seat on that hit because I was like, oh, shit. Now that was an actual, like,
yeah.
We don't get to see that very often. Literally like Oklahoma drill, one-on-one.
I said that was a great hit. And then before they even threw the flag, I was like, that's going to be a penalty. And then, whoop.
Yep.
I just think it sucks to eject the guy in the most important game
again
of the year.
Yeah. In the same stadium.
Yeah.
That's my big thing was, okay, by rule, maybe it was targeting, but that's not what targeting was made for. It was made for when you're hitting people in the head. It was made for the lunging. It was made for this. He was trying to do the best he could to tackle him. And it should have just maybe I could, if it was a 15-yard penalty, I think I would have been okay.
Because he didn't even have a launch.
No.
Literally, the only criteria that he met was the crown of his helmet.
He was on his knees.
And it wasn't, and in my head, I'm thinking crown of the helmet with the crown of their helmet is what I think. It was crown of his helmet and his shoulder into his side.
See, I think crown of the helmet to the head or the neck area, yeah, you got targeting. crown of the helmet. Look at how many defensive backs freaking ankle bite and have their crown of the helmet, and they have these. They hit receivers in the lower freaking legs.
Mm-hmm.
You got receivers, it doesn't happen too often, but it does happen. Lower leg injuries, severe lower leg injuries from ankle biting on tackles. Nobody ever talks about that. But do you really think that the defensive back has their head up? No, they don't. They don't know what the hell they're tackling. That's why they get hurdled. Which Najee Harris, very nice, by the way. But but yeah, like, where does it stop then? If we're gonna do this lowering the head thing, where does it stop? Because like Brad said, you're gonna watch them in slow motion, you're gonna get targeted. I wouldn't say it's like 90% of the time, but I would say a good solid 65. And I would say the percentage goes higher if it's a run up the middle.
I would say every solid hit you see in college football, if you put it in slow motion, is targeting.
Right. But then like we all said before, is it targeting when, because it happened soon after that, I put out there one of the wide receivers for Ohio State, or the running back, went to go hit somebody, he lowered his head. And I'm like, that's targeting right there. That's the definition of targeting. You were going after that defender with your head down. That's
because not only did he lower down, but then they do launch themselves to kind of run through them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're running. So it's honestly like they put in these rules so that there's more points, right? Get a 15-yarder, and then all of a sudden, the drive is still alive.
But you could still score points if you kept it where the way it was made. There would still be points scored.
I think now it just caters to the offense.
Right, and I'm an offensive guy, and I hate this. Like, it's just like it's getting
like pass interference. How often do you see the wide receiver? Like, I was at the Bears-Eagles game, and I'll never forget this. I can't remember. It was Alshon Jeffrey, I think, freaking shoved off of the Bears defender. And, of course, they don't show this on TV because this is a play developing down. So you're looking at the box. And it happened right in front of us. But that one pass interference that the Bears got, Alshon Jeffrey had shoved that guy off. And the guy went to come back at him and fell into him, and it was a pass interference call.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have catered so much to the offense that it is hard to play defense. And like, everybody be like, oh, just don't drop the crown of your helmet. That's literally the only thing we're talking about. He didn't launch. He didn't hit him in the head or neck area. He literally just lowered his head. And honestly, as a football coach, Steve, and you know this, like when you're working on tackling drills and shit, how many kids do that in like the spur of the moment? And then like you have to like coach them afterwards. Like, that is a split second. You got Justin Fields running at you, and your first thought is, I just got to get this dude on the ground. He's not thinking, oh, I'm going to level him. No, it was just the planets aligned, and it was a solid shot.
Which, if we're being honest, he never would have hit him with his helmet at all if Fields wouldn't have tried to spin.
Right.
Because that guy in his mind, like you just said, in his mind, he's like, I either have to bring him to the ground or I have to trip him up to slow him down for somebody else to come help me. That's what he's thinking.
Because if he was looking for a big hit, he wouldn't have got that low.
No.
Because when college football players, when they come in for a big hit, they don't lower to the ground like that. He was wanting to form tackle him. Like, you can't tell me that was the end. His intent was to get him on the ground. And then it just turned into this thing where he gets ejected.
No, he broke down. Like you said, he would not be that low to the ground if he was looking to lower the boom. If he was like, I'm going to knock him out of the game, he broke down like he's supposed to. And when Justin Fields got lower to spin, guess what he did? He got lower like he's supposed to, and that's why his knees were on the ground.
Yeah.
It was just the head was down.
Yep.
And if it wasn't such a big impact hit, that wouldn't have happened.
And so now, if they're going to make targeting a thing and eliminate head or neck area and literally just the crown of the helmet, because that's basically what they're going to have to do now. So it's not a launch. It isn't anything. It's just simply the lowering of the helmet is targeting. That's what they've done. They've rewritten the rule.
Mid-season.
Right.
Yeah. Well, not even mid-season. This is like when it counts. And
Yeah.
you've ejected a kid who was a senior, and if it wasn't COVID, he couldn't come back next year. You've
Mhm.
literally taken that away from him for a split-second decision in which I think he was trying to do the right thing. Because honestly, you're not trying to level Justin Fields. He's pretty elusive. He's a hell of a running quarterback. Like, I'm just trying to get you on the ground. And big hit happened. You ask most guys on a football, kids that are out searching, and Steve, we know this, Brad, you've played football. Anytime you're looking for a big hit, you never get it.
No.
It's just those moments, right, where the stars align, the planets align, and you get one good shot on somebody. But the people who are out looking for the big hits, they hardly ever get them.
And you almost never get a big hit when you're face to face with somebody.
No.
Like, you get a big hit when somebody isn't looking.
Exactly, which would be targeting the defenseless receiver. Holy shit. We just solved it.
So NCAA needs to hire us for the playoff system and the rule book. We got it. We got a new job. That's what.
Well, either that or they just need to change their wording. Lowering of helmet, that is targeting, because that's where we're at right now. He was not head or neck area. There was no launch. 2 of the 3, like, he's 33% on the rule book.
Right, and that's where it should be like, this would be hard because then the refs are starting to coach. Is when they lower their head and do that, is that just a 15-yard penalty then?
And I'm with Brad. I think that they should look at it real time. If you look at a targeting, you have to look at it real time. None of this slow-mo shit.
Yeah.
Because anything looks different in slow-mo. You ever watch the Dave Chappelle skit? This is going to go way off, but how everything looks better in slow motion.
Yeah.
And he goes in and he like takes a shit. He's just sitting there and he's just like, burp, burp. Whoop, guess you shouldn't have ate that. But then in slow motion, like launches him off the toilet.
Oh,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
In fast motion, hell of a hit. Brought me off the couch. In slow motion, well, he lowered his head and put himself at risk. Didn't even really put Fields at risk. Like, I know Fields got hurt, but like, you're literally.
But that's on Fields.
On an impact in football, it's like being in a car accident, right? And we're wearing a hard plastic covering on our head, and we got shoulder pads because most guys don't wear knee pads anymore. Half of them wear thigh pads. And it's like we are taking in collisions that are like being in a car accident. Dude, football players are just gladiators. They're the gladiators of our time. Like, if you think about it, like Mark Schlereth said this, why can't we just accept that football players are gladiators and not everybody gets to play in the league? Like, this is our Coliseum.
You can't do that because you're not paying them for what they have to do before they get to be in the league.
Well, you know. Brad, I've been on that topic before.
I know. But I'm saying that's why. That's why you can't just say, like, you die doing this, you die doing this, is because to get to the point where you make the millions of dollars, you have to do this other thing for free.
Yeah. I still think they should just be like, do you want the education or do you want a stipend?
Money.
But they don't want to take that amateur athlete title away once you do that. And I'm like, screw it, because you know what's going to happen now? They're going to pull an NCAA basketball and go play in the XFL for 2 or 3 years and then try to get the NFL.
Yeah.
I'd go, if I was a 5-star for some of these teams, I'd go play in Canada.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you play in those leagues? You know, because honestly, if it wasn't for COVID, dude, the XFL was actually good. Like, I enjoyed watching it. And I think if anything should be taken away, I think that they should allow you to hear what the hell is being talked about during a review. Like, that is the one thing from the XFL that I absolutely loved.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear exactly what was going on.
And they fixed
it. And I think what they're worried about is, you know, they always joke about it, but I swear to God, on some of these ball spot things, a call comes in from New York and says, no, we're not moving this ball. And then they just kind of like zone back out. Because let's be honest, there's been some spots this year where I'm like, what in the hell was that?
I mean, you saw it in the Alabama game, or at least I did. The side judge is clearly at a spot, and then the umpire comes in and is like, no, here.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
There was one where, what was it? The freaking, it was in the Clemson game, and the guy was coming in from the Ohio State sideline, and it was Clemson's ball, and it was right at the first down marker, and he spots it a yard short, and then as he approaches midfield, he runs on this slight angle that gives him an extra yard and a first down. And like as he's halfway there, he's like waving him like, okay, go. And it's like,
Yeah.
I think it was on the Trevor Lawrence, like Lawrence got hit. It was like a first down. If you watch that, like the referee comes in at an angle, like he has the spot, and then goes, oh yeah, that's first down. It's like,
CBS Sports the app went off. So now they've changed it. They said Texas expects to hire Steve Sarkisian as next coach.
What?
I hate this. We have these conversations like, oh, he's going to stay at Alabama until the right job opens up. Herman gets fired. 8 minutes later, oh, they're going to hire Sarkisian.
Okay, let's.
I don't think Sarkisian will leave because of what they think. For Texas, or you stay in Alabama, you have no pressure. You make $3 million a year, and then you take over basically the juggernaut for like the last 2 decades.
I'm just telling you what CBS Sports app just went off and was like, first it said Tom Herman's fired. I'm like, okay, Urban Meyer's coming back. Now it just went off and said expects to hire Sarkisian. I'm like,
dude,
what?
They're saying Urban Meyer might go to Jacksonville.
Yeah, his name's getting swirled around.
I'd be in on that.
Dude, my buddy said he would cry tears of joy because he got in on the, when Jacksonville was like, they were young and they were kind of like surprising. He got in on the season tickets down there. And then.
Does that mean Tim Tebow's coming back?
As a situational
H-back?
Yes.
Minshew at starting quarterback and then just bring Tim Tebow in for the red zone.
And Minshew is going to have Lawrence under him as an understudy. Hey, man, this is how you become the show.
You're going to tell me if Urban Meyer goes to Jacksonville, they don't at least think about drafting Fields?
Oh, don't put that evil on me.
And I'm just saying this as a Jets fan that kind of wants
a Jets fan.
Yeah, I do a thing in sports where I always pick a team on like either side of the division. So like
you landed on the Jets?
Yeah, because that was like early when they had like Thomas Jones.
Oh, yeah.
They were like kind of a fun defensive team.
And because they had the Ryan guy.
Well, they had Rex Ryan, and they were really good, and they had the Sanchez.
The butt fumble.
And then it all went downhill really fast. But they were like fun to watch for a little while. And I remember when they had Jim Leonard there at the end of his career because he left Baltimore, went to New York to play for Rex Ryan. Bart Scott, former SIU alum. They were fun to watch. And then it has been real bad.
Now you got Cocaine Gates there.
Well, they took Adam Gase, and if Miami didn't show you anything, it's that guy might be an okay offensive coordinator.
He's not, though.
He's not a head coach. I know that.
He's not even a coordinator.
With the Bears, he did okay.
Yeah, but how much of that was Jay Cutler?
But who else did he coach? Did he coach someone else?
He had Jay Cutler in Miami.
Oh, okay. Retired. He was taking nude selfies at that point.
Focus on that reality TV show life.
Was that the coaching staff where the offensive line coach got busted for like sending cocaine videos to the strippers and shit?
Would you do a line coach? I think that's just part of the job.
In the NFL?
In Miami, at least. In Miami, anything goes.
And if Urban Meyer shows up to Jacksonville, that's coming right with him. All that Florida shit's coming right with him.
He's going to somehow resurrect Aaron Hernandez.
He's not really gone. He's just been hiding
Yeah.
in
I
the
don't know.
woods of North Carolina.
Fucked up. Okay, can we move on to Bama now because we're off subject?
Well,
All
we have
right, go ahead, Brad. It's
all right.
you.
We have a hot sauce Notre Dame take. We're just gonna
Okay.
step back.
Hear me out. This is
Go on.
gonna be weird because they just made the playoff.
Do I need my Notre Dame shirt on right now?
Notre Dame needs to fire Brian Kelly. He's got to go. He's been there. Let's see. Brian Kelly started coaching Notre Dame in 2010. Okay. He's now been there 10 years. 2 of those years, they had to vacate all of their wins. Which, by the way, if you've never looked at how vacated wins work, they don't count as losses.
Yeah, they just like it never happened.
Bullshit. They should just count as losses. If you had to vacate your wins because you're doing something inappropriate, they're losses. In my book. And that's not just because I have a steaming, passionate hate for Notre Dame. Okay? Let's go through and look at Brian Kelly's major bowl games that he's been in. 2006 Orange Bowl, loss. 2012 BCS Championship, loss. 2015 Fiesta Bowl, loss. 2018 Cotton Bowl, loss. Last night, loss. I get why you stick with a head coach for a long time. It's the Dabo Swinney thing, right? We know we have a good guy that does things right. Eventually, he'll build Star Killer Base 2 and take on Alabama. It's been 10 years, and yeah, Notre Dame plays good football and they do things the right way, minus 2 years where they vacated all their wins for academic ineligibility. And you're no closer to beating either of those two teams.
Yeah, actually, his record is.
Fire him and get someone in there who can maybe recruit a 5-star quarterback. And how is it in the course of 10 years, you can't get a good quarterback to come to Notre Dame?
And at least a good college quarterback. We're not even talking pro because Brady Quinn was a good college quarterback.
Yeah, and probably could have been a decent pro if he hadn't have gone to shitty teams.
And just worried about being on the front of Men's Fitness.
Yeah, but that's different story.
Good looking dude.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can't tell me that is not like, if you're Notre Dame and you consider yourself to be a blue blood in college football, like, I understand you just made the playoff, but the entire nation just all got reminded again that you don't really deserve to be there. Like, at what point is it enough to say, okay, this guy got us back to being relevant, that he's not going to get us over the hump? And why, if you're Notre Dame with unlimited money, why don't you pay Steve Sarkisian $8 million a year to come coach Notre Dame?
Well, you know who would go to Notre Dame if they fired Kelly today?
Is
Urban Meyer.
Urban Meyer. Absolutely.
That's on his list.
And he's got 4 guys that go with him. He has like a non-negotiable, these coaches are with me.
Yeah, he's basically Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to make this movie, but it's also going to have Kevin James. And it's going to have, Rob Schneider. And why you can't just keep doing this. It's the same fucking problem I have with Georgia. They just keep doing the same shit over and over and expect something to be different.
Well, I'm not a Kelly fan. And what happened for the first 5 years, he was calling plays. Everything was his way. Red face Kelly. Remember? If he got mad, it was this red face. And then I think it was 4 years ago, he had a coming to Jesus moment at Notre Dame. It took 6 years. And he finally said, we want to recruit the biggest linemen, the tight ends. He wants to go back to doing this. But and you're right. What was that?
That won't win now.
Well,
Teams
right.
are fast.
Right. Well, at the time, though, he was like, this is what the offense I envision the offense looking like. And he said, we want to recruit this way. And he got it. This year was the first year you saw where it all came together. And they, by Illinois record, I would love to have this for Illinois, but for their standards, it doesn't work. But what pisses everybody off is it took you 5 or 6 years to be like, now you figured out what team you want. And then he handed the play calling over and took a step back, and they started doing better the last 4 years. But I mean, the reason why Clemson is Clemson is because Dabo came out publicly and said, we are not going to beat Alabama until we recruit and do things like Alabama. And I know Ohio State just beat Clemson, but if you look at their players, they look like SEC players. So you're right. Kelly probably shouldn't be there, but it's hard to fire him when he's only lost 3 or 4 games the past 4 years.
Yeah, but at a certain
But
point,
at Notre Dame, what's your goal at Notre Dame? Is it to be in the dance or is it to be the dance?
and I think if you're Notre Dame, and like I know some diehard Notre Dame fans, and if you're not, it's not good enough to be in the dance. I think you have to win one at some point.
Yep.
And
Now,
at this point, it's been 30 years.
Since they won a championship?
32 years. Their last one was in 88.
Do you think it's because they're independent and not in a conference? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
I think that, dude, they have a national television contract. They are on everybody's TV in the United States for every game.
It's inescapable.
Boot Piss University and Notre Dame's on television.
Mm-hmm. That is, I don't understand if you're Notre Dame and you really hold yourself in that high regard, which I think we all know they think of themselves that way. You can't continue to just let this dude be good but mediocre on the biggest stage. And they get embarrassed in bowl games.
Yeah.
And somebody last night was like, well, they just don't have the right style of quarterback. I'm like, well, that's your goddamn fault. It's been 10 years.
I think the last time I remember them beating somebody was when they beat LSU. When they had that tight end that was really good. They beat LSU in a bowl game.
But that wasn't even a New Year's bowl game.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like the last time you remember them.
The Pinstripe Bowl, the Sun Bowl, the Camping World Bowl.
Yeah.
The Papa John's Bowl. They don't win when it comes to the big games, which, let's be honest, there's big money in those big games. They don't win them.
No, they don't. And they go up against Alabama, and everyone's like, oh, yeah, you're still just a little brother to these other programs.
And they don't look like they should. Like Notre Dame's offensive line was big. And I'm like, look at what you could do with these boys. And it just doesn't work.
Well, look at how many all-pro linemen have come out of Notre Dame.
And the tight ends and linemen that come out of Notre Dame is off the charts.
It's insane.
You can get a 5th-round Notre Dame lineman, and I would say he's probably better than most second-rounders.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. At a certain point, if you're the athletic director at Notre Dame, which they're probably too nice because it's probably some fucking priest, probably busy diddling kids instead of looking at the athletic department.
Oh, this is real hot sauce takes now.
I'm so sick of Notre Dame because you hear it all the time. It's like, oh, this is some blue blood program. And you're not. You're just not a blue blood program. And
I think they've worked themselves out of the blue bloods.
yeah, Brian Kelly's not going to get you there. He's just not. It's been 10 years. Cut the cord.
Do you think he has something on the priest?
What?
Does he have something on the priest that keeps him there?
He might.
Does he have proof of this, what you're talking about? Does he have pictures?
You can only hold so much stuff back. It's going to come out. You know? It's just, I don't know. That's all I had to say.
Well, we now know Brad will never be attending Notre Dame. But
But Brad, would you ever go to a Notre Dame game?
You got
I mean, I went to Notre Dame with Coach Denhart. He took us all there.
yeah.
Me and Logan talked about going to a football game there. And I was
Oh,
like,
I would love to go see a football game there. Just like on my list of college football stadiums, like Notre Dame's up there. I want to go to Camp Randall night game,
yep.
Penn State whiteout, Virginia Tech if they're good would be badass. LSU night game up there because that place gets so crazy, like earthquake monitors go off.
Alabama, Auburn.
Yes. At Bama. I would rather see it at
Alabama. I'm not really one to go to Auburn. But.
Yeah. Now, if it was one of those years Auburn upset them, I'm sure it'd be nuts.
So when they hire their coach here, not this year, but next year, and they're a national title contender, because that's how it works at Auburn. Like,
did you see that Kevin Steele won't be their defensive coordinator?
why would you want him if you're going to be a head coach?
Well, because it was.
Honestly, like he's tainted himself unless he gets a head job.
But
And
after
I would give him a head job at this point.
yeah, with those reports coming out, why would you risk that?
Because the scary thing about all that is he did all of that without the support of the athletic department.
Yeah.
He did that with boosters. So if you're an athletic director, why would you hire that dude?
Yeah. Hey, I'm just going to try and force my way into. Yeah. And as a coach, how would you hire somebody like that?
You would have to be someone with like unbelievable job security.
But I think those guys have their guys that they develop. Like, so you're talking very few, like Nick Saban, but Nick Saban's got a guy he's created. So why the hell would he want somebody else?
This whole thing stinks of I have to spend a year at Alabama as a like quality control assistant. You know,
Yep.
go through the car wash of the Alabama, like
Because that's what they do.
wipe all the dirt off of you, and then you can go play with the kids again.
Because Nick
How many
Saban,
Alabama quality control guys have became head coaches? Again.
A ton.
Like they go in there and then
because Nick Saban's like, you got nothing on me. I don't have a cell phone. You got nothing on me. You can come on in here.
Yeah.
I talked to Bill Belichick via Solo Cup and Wire. How cool would it have been? How cool was it to see Josh Whitman talk? And this is way off, but Bill Belichick. How cool was it to see Josh Whitman call Bill Belichick for 45 minutes about Coach Bielema?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's the thing. Like, our current head coach just did the NFL version of the Alabama car wash.
yes.
Like, he went, spent his time under Belichick, probably learned to figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
And then got to go be a head coach again.
And he even openly said, like, yeah, I'm going to change some things.
Yeah.
Like, was open-minded enough, wasn't like, oh, I'm going back to the Big Ten, I'm going back playing Wisconsin football. Like, no, I'm going to change some things. I'm going to do some things differently. And it was like, holy God, like, isn't that the way we should all be as coaches? Like,
You would think so.
what I think was really interesting though was I was talking, I can't remember who I was talking to, but they told me like there's the science guy at Alabama that does their sports performance, and then there's a guy that's actually in the weight room. The guy that's actually in the weight room was like in the strength and conditioning program at Notre Dame for like 1 year.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's like, what were you doing?
like explain to me your thought process.
He wasn't making, he was just making you guys like too fast. Yeah. So it was in between the 2016 and the 2017 season, they went 4-8. They bring him in, and then he leaves to go to Indiana the next year.
And then look at Indiana.
Had him right there. how do you not be like, oh, this guy knows his shit? I think I'm gonna like promote him.
Because it's Kelly's way or the highway.
And I think Saban saw way too many non-contact football injuries that were serious with his old guy, and that's why he brought in the new guys. Because other than Waddle, which was a contact injury, how many non-contacts have they had this year?
Well, because remember years ago, people knocked Nick Saban because they were like, yeah, he wins national championships, but when his guys go to the NFL, they get hurt because they're worn out.
They fall apart.
And so kudos to Nick Saban to be like, something's not right here. I'm seeing these injuries, like you just said. I'm seeing guys go in the NFL and get hurt. Let's do this instead.
And I texted you guys those numbers. Like, dude, numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
They are constantly improving in season. In season. You're just supposed to maintain in season, and they're getting more powerful.
Okay, are we talking? Can we talk Bama right now?
Yeah, that's what we're like sliding to.
I just haven't clicked on it yet.
To start it off, did you hear them say Leatherwood was a 3rd round pick?
Yes. And then I got really excited because I was like, okay, Chicago, don't fuck this up with your late 1st rounder.
Yeah.
How are you a 2-time All-American and you're a late 3rd rounder?
I don't know.
But what he say? He was like, I had him in the 2nd round last year. Nick Saban got mad at me and said he's not that high.
That's what I love. Could you imagine being Todd McShay and you put a guy in the 2nd round and you get your phone immediately rings from Nick Saban, just be like, you want to cut the shit?
Hey, Todd, this is Nick here. And yeah, can you go ahead and drop that grade 1 round? We kind of want our left tackle back.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, how do I end this motherfucking call?
I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Saban had a way to stop you from hanging up the phone. He has a program and you physically can't hang it up.
So here's what's hilarious. So we view Nick Saban as this guy who's got all this crazy stuff. What if he's a dude who literally wakes up at 8 a.m., sits around in his tidy whities, that's what old guys have, drinks a Keystone Light, and then goes to the facility? What if he's just this hyper normal person who just happens to do extraordinary things?
Every video I've ever seen with him though is oh, you've got that weird Michael Jordan thing where you just can't take not being better than that person.
Yeah.
Well,
they said so they play basketball games, him and his assistants, and he always changes the rules to where he wins.
Yeah. What are you going to say to him? He's Nick Saban.
Or
I love it.
Did you guys laugh as hard as I did when he had to do the halftime press thing? He goes, I can't hear you. What?
I can't hear. I can't hear you.
Could you imagine being the tech person for Nick Saban?
Oh, did you see him though? He was fidgeting over there. He's like, oh shit. Oh shit.
Yeah. The amount of laptops that had to have been broken by Nick Saban, because he probably has so little time for technology.
Yeah.
I can see just a clicker on a projector doesn't work and he just throws it against the wall.
You have one job, and it's for me to be able to hit one button, and it starts and stops everything.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the shoe thing. He's like, what? Who do I have to fire today? These shoes are the wrong size. Who do I have to fire?
I'm grumpy because I got the wrong shoes on. And somebody's going to pay for it.
But yeah, I can't hear you. And then he pulls it off, and he's going to walk towards the reporter. And of course, I'm like, oh, no, don't do that. He was going to do an old school interview.
Well, he already had COVID, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Did he ever actually have COVID, or was it?
No, he did. He tested positive.
That's the second time he did.
Yeah, right. First time was a false positive.
And then they asked his wife, they were like, what was it like him being at home watching the game? They go, well, he was upstairs. There was a couple thuds and some yelling.
He probably went to his vacation house.
I feel like his wife is the only thing that makes people think he's a real human. Because everyone says she's the nicest person on earth.
Do you follow Nick Saban's daughter on social media?
Uh-uh.
Oh, go do it. Because people will go at her and say shit, and she goes right back.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Is she
God.
hot?
Yes.
I'll bet she's hot.
And you should see the kid. It looks like a young Nick Saban with big ears.
Really? That's awesome.
And, like, people go at her, and you should have seen the Auburn game. Auburn people going at her.
Yeah.
But she'll put videos up of Nick and his wife. Like, his wife's a national treasure. Like, after they won the game, it shows him walking off the stage to go hug her, and she was like, "Champion." All he's saying is championship. He's just like, "We gotta win the championship." That's all he was saying. I was
Yeah.
like, he wasn't even happy with this. He was like, "We gotta go win the championship."
Well, can you imagine being married to that dude?
She has
Oh, there we go. He's here.
There he is. There's our fan. Yes. Now we can start the show, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just
An hour and a half.
Yep.
Doesn't count.
All right.
Jacob, all we've talked about is Ohio State and Clemson.
But honestly, like, yeah, I'm kind of with Brad. It's kind of like you have a get. Well, look at what they did with Lovie Smith. Dude goes 10-6 with the Bears and gets fired because it's like, well, you're getting us here, but we're not winning it. And ultimately, the goal at Illinois is to be in a higher bowl game, right? Like every coach says championship, but let's be realistic. Like I want to be in a bowl game that's like December 29th through January 2nd. Like for Illinois, that's good. And then when we peak, we'll be in the conversation to be in the 14 playoff. But like when you're at a Notre Dame, the conversation is championship. And if you're not delivering that, then what's the point of you being there? Because that's their attitude. That's not realistically what they've had in 30 years, but that's their attitude. Kind of like that's Auburn's attitude, Steve. We experienced that. Well, we're supposed to be competing for championships. You've never, like, you've won a couple because you paid a dude paid his stepfather to come to your school.
Correct.
And he didn't know that his stepfather got $100,000 somehow. And then, yeah. So anyways, but they're not, but that's what they think they are. It's kind of like Notre Dame. They think they are, and they're going to fire good coaches to try and get there. Like,
well, kind of like when Nick Saban ever retires. Can you imagine the pressure on that new coach that comes in?
Oh God.
It's going to be like that. Like Notre Dame was big time back then. Like Brad's dad probably can attest to that. Like it was big time.
That's why he hates him.
That's why he hates him. And that's why people hate Bama, because that's what's happening right now. And so, yeah, and especially if Urban Meyer is sitting out there and you just throw all the money you have at him.
Saying that he wants to come there. Like there's a difference between, oh, we're going to try and get Urban Meyer, and Urban Meyer saying that's a job that would interest me.
Because he was the wide receivers coach.
I would throw it all away for that. If he was like, I'd be interested in that job, I would go that day and fire Brian Kelly.
Look at today. They fire Herman, and then 8 minutes later, Sarkisian's the head coach, like at the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
And like, because Urban Meyer coached at Notre Dame, and then he went to Ohio State, I think, right after that, like as a assistant.
No, they are targeting Steve Sarkisian. Sarkisian's not in yet.
Okay. CBS Sports, how dare you?
According to ESPN, Horns target Sarkisian after Herman is out.
So how much does this piss Nick Saban off? Because now it's a distraction.
Well, but at the same time, Sarkisian, Auburn was a distraction until Alabama gave him and I'm sure it's somewhere in his contract. He just got a new one. He just became the highest paid assistant in college football. Sarkisian did. So.
But you're going to tell me Texas can't buy him out of that?
I'm sure they can, but at the same time, I don't know if that would burn a bridge, but that might burn a bridge. You like just leveraged your rival to get a raise, and now you're going to leave anyways. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think.
And then how stupid does Texas feel? They got rid of Mac Jones, and then they hire Herman. And then think of LSU. They wanted to hire Herman over Ogeron.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't think Herman's a terrible coach.
I don't think he is either. I'd take him into Illinois. Like if we didn't have Belima, like I am willing to like sit out the Illinois thing and be like, okay, where's this going to go? Because I'm kind of like excited.
Oh no, I was fully in off the bat, but
But now does Herman go to Auburn?
Ooh. Wait, Auburn hired a guy.
Did they?
I thought so.
They hired the Boise State head coach.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I know, right?
You fired Gus Malzahn for a dude who's worse than Gus Malzahn? Like, how the fuck does that even work?
But that's the thing. Like, I don't think they didn't want to fire Gus Malzahn.
No, and like this guy at Boise State's not a bad coach. He's only lost like 20 games. He's like 96-20.
But he plays Boise State's schedule.
I know, but I get it. Like you have Steve Sarkisian out there, you have these other guys out there, and you hired him. But good for him for firing Kevin Steele. He's like, nope, I ain't putting up with this shit. You're gone.
Here, fuck that.
Yeah.
Here, I gotta go take my dog outside, or she's gonna
Explode.
Yeah.
Drop a hot one.
Yeah. Well, he'll have another hot take in it. Oh, that's a beautiful pink, whatever the hell that was. Is that a harness? He's got to put a harness on the damn dog. We had harnesses. Oh, nice leash.
Bunch of slapdick.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Brad. Like the guy's getting you to the dance sometimes. You know, like Notre Dame, you know how like we talk like Alabama and Clemson are kind of like automatically in the CFP. Like Notre Dame thinks that they should be that.
Right.
They should be the third team. And you want to know what? With their independent schedule, they're always going to be in the conversation.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like this year, it proved they shouldn't be in the playoff. But then Notre Dame is sitting there going, we shouldn't. This is why we're not in a conference, because we risk losing.
Yeah. But would you rather just not be in it and play in a competitive bowl game, or be in it and then just get your shit stomped in by a truly better team?
That's the big debate that I have with LeBron James fans too, with all that stuff. It's kind of the same thing. Like, do you remember the teams that lost? Do you remember the teams that win? I think it was Ray Lewis too. He's like, it's one thing to get to the Super Bowl. It's another thing to win the Super Bowl. He goes, they don't care if you lose it. They care if you win it.
Yep.
And so right now, Notre Dame seems to be happy of like sniffing it and then getting there. And then once they get there, they're like, okay, we're good. We're done.
Yeah.
Like Illinois, I would take that. Like, oh, we made the Final Four. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah. I would take, and honestly, but we're different, right? Like we're different.
Did I tell you this or something? I don't know if it was you or somebody else. I said, I'm glad I'm an Illinois fan at times because we're not too high and we're not completely too low. We're right in the middle where we can see everything. You know what I mean? Like
we understand what it's like to like, you have a good coach. Why are you wanting to get rid of him? Well, because we're Auburn and we have we should be in the national title game. But you face Alabama every year, and you're going to lose that 8 times out of 10. Like there's going to be 2 years where you might get them.
And we're over here with Tim Beckman shredding up paperwork from their injuries. Like,
because he didn't do that, Steve.
No, allegedly he.
Yeah,
I got quotations around that. The only good thing he did was have his son go to Urbana High School and take them to the playoffs. That was the only good thing that happened.
Yeah. And then with Mike Thomas, there was nothing good with Mike Thomas.
No.
And I will say this, you want to know what? I really like John Gross. Like he was such a good dude, but damn, he wasn't a good Big Ten coach. But I loved John Gross. Like John Gross was such a nice guy. I felt like he was genuine. Like he was actually like a good dude.
I think he's where he needs to be in a Division I, but like a sub, like a non-power 5.
Yeah.
That's where he needs to be. And because Akron's good, decent now with him.
Yeah.
The football team stinks, but the basketball team's pretty good.
Yeah.
Who was the coach after Beckman for like a week?
Cubitt.
I didn't mind him.
He went 6-6 in 1 year.
Yeah, he got them to play.
We made it to a bowl game. And honestly, like I think that goes to show you. So I think Cubitt was pretty well liked by the locker room.
Yeah.
And I think Beckman was despised. So basically with Beckman's recruits, he went 6-6.
Yeah. He that's what I'm saying. He was motivated. He could motivate them to play.
Yes. And I think honestly, as a college coach, like Alabama's guys, they're not only motivated to play for Nick Saban, but they're also motivated because a lot of them have a chance to be drafted by the league, right? So their body is their business. But like at Illinois, we might get some guys who can go to the NFL. We'll have a couple, but like we have to find somebody who the guys want to play for. And you see all these guys transferring. Remember, we lost like our starting freaking linebacker this past year or 2 years ago. Like our best linebacker went to like Auburn or something like that.
Yeah, it seemed like when Lovey came in, he would recruit X amount of players, but then as he recruited X amount of players, X amount left.
Yes. Nobody wanted to stay, and I always thought that was interesting. And I have no doubt that Lovey's a good mentor because I'm a lot. But I think the college nuances, which we haven't even really talked about, we took Brad's Irish take and then freaking went somewhere else with it.
Slap dicks.
But, okay, so leading into – because, I mean, Bama they looked explosive for one half, and then it was just like they stopped calling offense in the second half.
Yeah, because, I mean, kudos to Notre Dame for sticking in there in the second half. Kudos to them. They played tough.
For some people.
Yeah, the one I needed to win, Bama screwed it up.
And scored under 40 points for the first time in like, was it 24 games? They had scored over 40.
I don't think it was that many. It was a good streak, though.
It was something like 30 or 35 straight games of scoring over 35 points or something like that.
There you go.
It was something crazy.
It was 2 seasons worth of games.
Which, okay, when I was talking about betting on Alabama to cover, I completely forgot Notre Dame's one of those annoying schools that keep playing their full offense until the very last second.
Because Alabama didn't have their guys in after the third quarter.
Yeah.
That's why on one of my bet slips, I took the plus 18 or 17 of Notre Dame because I was like, if this happens, they're going to keep their guys in to score.
Which is another reason to fire Brian Kelly. If you're in a college semifinal game,
it always rotates back to
pulling starters, that's embarrassing. Right?
Yeah. At that level, it's embarrassing.
Like if you are there, okay, I'm done.
No, you're good. I'll
talk about it all day because you have to know who you are or who you want to be, and if that dude isn't getting you there, get him out.
If you're the guy
in 10 years
in like we're not talking like you're at a small school and people are pulling starters the second game of the year. This is you're Notre Dame and you're in the college football playoff, and basically Alabama said, "Yeah,
all right, he's got to go."
That was a good take. I kind of like that. That spurred some thought.
Thanks.
But it scared me with Alabama in that second half. I'm like, ooh, like they took their foot off the gas and they don't look very good all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't like. So now we're transitioning because really, what was there to talk about the Bama Irish game? Bama did what they did for a half, and then the Irish tried to make it look respectful.
Can we talk about that play, that Y cross play where they have the one guy come across and the Y underneath? Bama scored on that every game. Every game they run that.
Yes. And it's only in the second quarter.
And it always goes for somebody different.
Right.
It's not like they run it for one guy.
No, because sometimes it's Michi, sometimes it's I've even seen him use like the tight end coming out of like the H spot.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about how good Sarkisian is at play calling all of a sudden? Like he's been reborn, and like this play calling is just.
I think it helps to have the best athletes in college football.
But look at Mac Jones. Like he looks like he's playing quarterback.
Yeah.
like standing back there. He doesn't look like a guy that should be playing quarterback.
No.
But I was talking to this with another coach. We were like, okay, someone said, who's the better play caller, Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian? And I said, Steve Sarkisian doesn't get outside of what they can really do. Like, he's like, this is what we can do. This is what I'm doing. Lane is like, what if I do this? What if I do this? Lane is more like experimental and like a lot of motion, a lot of trying to go fast. And Sarkisian's like, nope, we're going to keep our base stuff, but I'm going to do a lot of eye candy to disguise it.
Which, okay, if you're Nick Saban and Devonta Smith scores that touchdown and hurts his back, you got to be shitting yourself a little bit.
I was. That's why I was like, oh no. No.
When I saw it, it was just like his ass cheek.
You're talking about guys like not wearing their full hip pads and everything. Like, that tailbone pad exists for a reason, bud.
Yeah.
Not saying it would have helped him, but
you want to talk about speed kills? How fast is he on a bubble screen and doesn't get touched?
That was insane.
Yeah.
Like, good blocking too, but damn, he just got to the sideline and was like, I'm not going to touch the sideline. I'm just going to run really fast. And you can't.
How powerful is it when you, as a coach, and Steve, you know this, you have a guy that can make one guy miss?
Like, you know, every play.
Guaranteed, like 100%. Or if I get this to this guy in space, like, he's going to make the first guy miss and then outrun everybody else.
Yeah.
And then before we get to the next one, Mac Jones makes the best decisions I've ever seen. He does his progression, check, just throw it to the running back. Everybody wants to force something. He is like, screw it. I'm going to throw it to the running back.
Well, because he knows the explosive plays are coming, right?
Right. And then like
it's just, yeah.
They talked about him as a person. He's really, really, really smart. He had like a business degree in like 2 years or something from Alabama. So like he's really smart. So I think he's able to do that. Because I've watched it all year, and then watching it yesterday, I was like, he really goes to the running back when he has nothing. Like, if it's not there, screw it.
He will be this generation's Fitzmagic. Like, Fitzmagic's almost done.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that impresses me about, like, it isn't very often you can say a check down is impressive, but when Mac Jones hits his check down, it's like in stride.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He never looks like off. He's on schedule.
Yeah.
By the time he hits his check down, it's time for him to get the ball.
Because how many times have we seen a quarterback hold on to the ball because he's locked onto one guy, and then it's like, oh, shit, I got to flare this out. And the running back looks at him because the running back gets obliterated because the throw's behind him. And it's just like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. I just think it's probably just he's had really, really good coaching for his entire Alabama career.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's a junior?
Oh, I thought he was a senior.
Is he? I don't know. Hold on. Let me look.
I don't remember. Because then somebody said they're glad he waited his turn. I'm like, he didn't wait his turn. He earned that spot last year and this year.
Oh, yeah.
He's a junior. Yeah, he's a junior.
Is he a redshirt junior?
It is junior.
Sorry, it started playing audio on ESPN, but yeah, he's a junior. He's a redshirt junior. So he's been there 4 years.
Damn.
Playing the wing tee in high school.
Yeah, buddy. The hope for every wing tee quarterback, just like that center for Coastal Carolina was the hope for every undersized lineman in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bama versus OSU. So we can go ahead and get to that. Like, oh, you already have it. Shit. I didn't know we were on that topic. Whatever.
I clicked on it when you were looking for the.
Oh, okay. Honestly, like, if Ohio, I don't want. There's two things that factor into this. One thing is I don't like how Alabama finished that game because I think offense is a rhythm. But I also understand it because if you're pedal to the metal and Devontae Smith gets hurt, which they kind of had a scare, and I think that kind of had something to do with it. Because it's like, okay, Devontae just scored his third touchdown of the game, and some dude just kicks his feet out from under him. He lands on his ass cheek. Well, shit. Now we're dealing with something. And I'm going to tell you, a bruise in your fucking glute. Oop, I just said the F word. A bruise in your glute, that inhibits a Devontae Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Because his game is speed. He's an unbelievable receiver. He has way more than speed. But when that 100, it isn't 100%er on the bubble. If he's slower.
Yeah.
He's still going to catch it. He'll still probably get a first down, but he can't take it to the house because he's got a deep butt cheek bruise.
Yeah.
And then Ohio State's run game, kind of concerned with that because Ohio State or Alabama doesn't defend the run very well. They don't have those ass kickers up front like they used to. They're fast.
I think Bama will bring more guys to the fight on the line of scrimmage than Clemson did.
Because I think Bama's defensive backs are better, so they can leave them on an island.
Yes. But I still think that Ohio State, the Sermon kid's playing out of his mind, and it's about momentum, right? And so he has clearly seen the field a lot better than he has. And I think Ohio State also knows that we need to get Sermon going so Fields can be better. If this was Notre Dame or if this was Ohio State before they played Indiana, I would say this would be a slaughter. But this is them realizing we need to get Trey Sermon going to get Justin Fields going. And they work off of one another. It isn't just we're going to force feed Fields the whole time. We're going to get one going to get the other one going. And I think they're more dangerous than what they were, say, 3 games ago.
Yeah, it makes me worry some. But how much energy did they just put out there for this Clemson game? Now I know they have time. The game's next Monday? Not this Monday, but the one after. So they have time. But this happened with Bama and Georgia. They spent all that energy, all that game planning on Clemson, and it was like, oh, we still got to play Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm wondering, is Ohio State just spent all that energy and mental stuff on Clemson? Now it's like, oh, we got Bama now.
I would say if they played this week, yes. But if they're playing in 2 weeks, no.
And then I think, though, I'm not worried about Bama's offense whatsoever. They're going to attack those corners and safeties like nobody's business. It's Alabama's defense I'm scared. It does make me a little worrisome with Ohio State's run game.
Yeah.
And it depends on how healthy Justin Fields is. Does this thing get worse as the week goes on?
If he's got broken ribs, which he could, it's going to get worse.
Drew Brees is the ultimate competitor. And Drew Brees Drew Brees basically broke his entire rib cage.
And had a punctured lung.
But, you're telling me that, Fields was severely inhibited in his hip flexion for sure. Because, swinging that hip up, he was having to swing his leg. Instead of just flexing his leg up and getting on the bike, he was having to rotate that hip around. So he's compensating for something that wasn't working the way it needed to work. So you look at, hip flexion, that's your psoas muscle. That's, some other things that happen in there, something, and honestly, it was more his psoas muscle than it was say his quad, which can be a part of hip flexion. He was having to swing that hip out and around, which tells me, okay, you're compensating big time here. Something's up.
So then it becomes to how many reps does he get in practice this week? And does that disrupt the flow of what they got going on?
I think, honestly, they'll have an extended break after this. If he's got broken ribs, I don't see him practicing that much. Because how often do you want to agitate that?
Right. So he's going to sit there and not take reps. Then you come in to play Bama. And then let's say Bama is able to stop the run all of a sudden.
I think Alabama has a better pass rush off the edge, too.
Because when you give Nick Saban 11 days to look at this.
Dude, is that what it is? They should just play this shit from 1 week and may the best team win because it gets so annoying. They get so many breaks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is essentially like Ohio State's 5th bye week of the year.
Well, and people have said that before. Like, if you're one of these teams that plays in a New Year's Bowl every year, you essentially get 5 more weeks of practice every year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you can't practice unless you're in a bowl game.
Yeah. So it's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're a good school, you'll remain good. If for no other reason, then you just get more practice time than everyone else.
Yeah, January 11th is when they play. So
That's
now,
crazy.
so you have 11 days of Nick Saban looking at that film, trying to figure something out.
So Devontae Smith will be totally healthy.
He'll be
His
healthy.
was just a bruise. So he'll be 100% good to go. I would almost say that you will see Jalen Waddle out there. Just going to throw that out there.
They said that during the game. Like, they asked Jalen Waddle about it, and they said one of the sports information people was like, "Yeah, he's done talking."
Yeah.
Like,
You want to know why? Because even if anything, he's going to be one hell of a decoy. But I don't see their strength guys letting him go out there unless he is ready to go. Because ultimately,
what happened to him?
broken ankle, right?
Is that
Dude,
it?
no, fractured ankle.
Mm-hmm.
Dude came in, hit him in the freaking, one of those
Targeting.
defensive backs, freaking,
Targeting.
yeah, targeting his ankle. Yeah.
Fucked up.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, but I think, and if he's back, oh shit. That's one thing. But and I don't think that watching the Ohio State game, I don't think that they have their corners travel with anyone. So they can just put Devontae Smith on the left side of the field, and that good corner from Ohio State's not going to travel with him.
No.
Which is another thing. Like, that's kind of a big thing because you can create mismatches, and let's be honest, Alabama's really good at that.
Which I think Ohio State's defense is entirely zone, right?
They might split coverage, maybe.
Yeah.
See, the thing that always drives me nuts about zone is zone always becomes man.
Eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, doesn't it just help to know who the hell you got from the get-go? I don't know. This is just me getting into philosophy shit, but
well, that's where you get into that.
You have the athletes.
Well, that's where you get into that 4-2-5 blue and mixed coverage shit, which we try to do for another DC at another school I was at that I'll keep my mouth shut on. But to try to rep that out is very difficult.
Yeah.
And it's annoying to me because I was the outside safeties coach. I'm like, this sucks. Just play zone or play man and just deal with it. Don't say if he does this, but what if he does a wheel route? Then you got to do this and you got to do this. Then you got to do this on top of that.
I am more of a man guy and make the quarterback, especially in high school, make the quarterback throw the ball as far as he has to and put somebody in between it.
Yeah.
Whereas there's other people, it's like keep everything in front of you because, like, you run. Oh, Jesus, this is another podcast. All right, back on it. So, yeah, I don't think Ohio State's corner will travel with Devontae Smith, and I think that does not bode well for.
Well, it's a lose-lose because then if they do what Notre Dame did and try to double him, it just opens it up for other people.
Yep.
And Sarkisian is great at it. He's like, oh, you double him? I'm going to throw it to him, or we're going to go this way.
That's the benefit of having 3 Heisman candidates as opposed to 1.
Well, that's how those white crosses work because Smith crosses over, and then they have a guy come on underneath of him. They're like, oh, they're throwing to him. And then he just is like, I'm right here. Throw me the ball. I think
when you have Michi, who's a great wide receiver, like nobody talks about him. He's a great wide receiver. Especially the one play that sticks out to me is when Devontae Smith got ahead of Michi and was blocking for him.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God. That's like a wide receiver coach's dream.
Mm-hmm.
Having stock blocking wide receivers. Those are like the best teams that I've coached or been a part of. The wide receivers block people.
This will be a high-scoring game, too, I think. I think this is going to...
Yeah, I don't think – I think that Ohio State will take some shots.
Does Ohio State have the front 7 to stop Najee Harris?
Yes, that's probably their strength.
Well,
that means the line's real.
But, like, that's why I didn't understand Clemson's calling because at that first drive, they were going to the outside where their defense is weakest. Like, Your weakness is those corners and safeties.
Yeah.
Go to the outside, and they did. Bama is going to be way faster than Clemson, and they're going to go to the outside. And then once Ohio State fucks up and it starts to spread it out, then they go right up the middle.
Yeah. That's the benefit of having – and Najee Harris, to be honest with you, like I thought ETN was a good back. Dude, Najee Harris is hands down the number one running back in college football. Like that guy, the only pass that I think he dropped was a pass that Mac Jones didn't want to get him hit on, so he threw it so far behind him. And Najee still tried to catch it.
Yeah.
But like, dude, he's so dynamic. And that hurdle, like that's going to be like that like everybody forgot about the thrown shoe because of that.
Yeah.
Like, no, like, and that guy wasn't even trying to like he was trying to like hit stick him and meet him up high, and he still hurdled him.
Yeah.
That was like a 60-inch hurdle that he went over.
And stayed in bounds. It wasn't like he jumped to the side. It was straight up, straight down, then take off. And the moment he touched the ground, he was up. He was gone.
So I follow Grant Holloway, who's like a U.S. hurdler, and he said the same thing I did when I think one of you said something. I was like, oh, I didn't rip his trail leg through. He said that. I was like, huh. Makes me almost feel like I know something about hurdles.
I was just looking at the extended leg. Like he jumped up and then that first leg went up. And I was like, oh, that's beautiful form. And I didn't pay attention to the other leg. And I was like,
but actually, your lead leg, not to just veer off, but your lead leg should be bent when you go over a hurdle.
I coach throwers. I don't know nothing.
Yeah. Wow. That's a thing. It helps you get down and you snap it down. Like going over a hurdle is like a B skip, basically.
When I coach hurdlers, I tell them just to kick the thing down and just keep kicking them. Don't even jump over it. Just kick it. We're fine. Works every time. 60% of the time, it works every time.
So,
We're
yeah.
We're getting way off.
I think Bama will win by like 10 points, but I think it'll be a pretty good game.
Hey, did anyone else see that thing where they pulled up Alabama's depth chart from like running back depth chart from 2013?
Oh, God, I can't even imagine.
TJ Yeldon, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Kenyon Drake, and there was someone else in there.
Alvin Kamara was there? I thought he was Tennessee.
He transferred to Tennessee.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Could you imagine being in that running backs room?
Everybody wants to talk about the quarterback rooms, and you freaking look at Alabama's running back room for like the last 10 years.
Yeah. Like imagine if you had, like they were talking about Bellama calling like Illini alums.
Yeah.
Can you imagine taking over that program and how many running backs you would talk to? Like all pro running backs.
Stupid.
Yeah. And it all starts with like Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
Well, it really started with that dude that went into the Army.
Coffee. Glenn Coffee.
Yeah, Glenn Coffee. God, that was forever ago.
And who was the big nose guard? Cody? Was that his name?
Oh, Mountain Cody is what they called him.
Yeah, Terrence Cody. Was that his name?
Terrence Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Like 360 pounds of man.
He's
Yeah.
huge.
Like 6'7".
You wanted a field goal blocked, he was your guy.
Who was the running or the defensive tackle from LSU that like was in the he was a Heisman finalist? I can't. This is bad radio right now, but
I can picture him. I just can't say.
Yeah.
Because that was before Ed, right?
yeah.
I'll tell you here in a second. Glenn Dorsey.
Glenn
That's it.
Dorsey. That dude was huge.
Yeah. He was a stud.
He had
And he was
lunchbox
not a good
hands.
pro.
Drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mhm.
Didn't really do shit in the NFL, but
Yeah, he just never really became much, but he was a monster in college.
Neither did Terrence Cody, but they just put him in on field goal blocks. That was like
Yeah.
his job was like, you blast these three guys and we'll block it.
dude, do you remember God, we're really trailing off. But the old men for the Chicago Bears when they had like Urlacher, you had Ted Washington and Keith Traylor. Those guys were just massive.
Mhm.
Massive. So useful. Though. I mean, they did what they did.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I'm about to say you remember again. Do you remember the Williams Wall in Minnesota?
Yes, Kevin Williams and Pat Williams.
And Pat Williams was the fattest man on earth.
He was the most useful defensive tackle, and Kevin Williams was like all pro.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I just remember watching both of them like waddle out there. It's like, well, we're not running the ball today.
Yeah, but Kevin Williams was like a legitimate free technique.
Your
Yeah.
job is to just take one step forward and never move again. That's your job.
Yeah, but Kevin Williams was like an ass kicker. And then Washington and Kreutz like hated each other.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Or Ted Williams and Kreutz hated each other. There you go.
Olin
Yeah.
Kreutz's kid is a recruit coming to Illinois.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I am too.
He is up here in the burbs, and he is very vocal about everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, he's on one of those like Chicago sports talk shows.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he goes to Loyola Academy.
Yeah, he started the rally for the high school thing in the city. Like, he was the speaker.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I don't know. I didn't think his son was going to stay after they fired Lovey.
I think Belema, if you're a lineman, you want to play for him.
And he brought in his former line coach.
Oh,
Who played for him, then was a graduate assistant,
Yeah.
and he's from
and
the
is actually a really good line coach.
the burbs here, so he has some ties.
Mhm.
And he just, I think he genuinely like is passionate. Like that is the one thing you've heard from every one of the coaches, and this just might be talking, they all want to lock down the state. Like that is their number one goal.
Yeah.
I think they're going to do what Illinois or Iowa does. They're going to say, okay, these are the type of players we're going to get from the state of Illinois, like Iowa did. Iowa knows we're going to get these big corn-eating, meat-eating kids from Iowa and part of Illinois. So Bielema knows this is what we're going to get from Illinois, and that we're bringing them here, and we're going to go with it. And then we're going to get them kids from outside.
Yeah. On a high school level, Steve, I don't know if you even know where this is, but the head coach at Dwight, Illinois,
Mm-hmm.
he played football at SIU, and their strength program in that whole school has gone nuts. Like the stuff he's doing with them, strength and conditioning wise.
Did he play for the Eagles?
No.
Never mind. Is that the
Yeah.
No, we went and played Dwight.
What?
We went and played Dwight. Are you sure he didn't play for the Eagles? Because they have a freaking jersey out. Because we went and played Dwight.
No, they have a different guy that played for the Eagles.
Yeah. He's a 4th round pick or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing that I don't like about that guy is, so basically we had to assure him that all of our seniors had graduated from the undefeated team. And then they were like, oh yeah, we'll play you on a 1-year deal because you're probably going to be good again. I can't stand high school football coaches in Illinois. Oh, you might beat us, so we don't want to play you.
When was that? Because he might not have been there yet.
This was the year we went 0-9, so not this past year, like through 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think he was the head coach yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was really annoying.
No, but Steve, I got to give you his information because I think he'd be a cool podcast guest for you.
Yeah.
Like strength and conditioning program development, because that's like kind of his background.
I'm waiting for you guys to get yours rolling here.
What do you mean?
You were supposed to do a sports and nutrition.
Yeah.
Man, when I get 2 days off in a row, I would gladly do it.
Tell me when you got those 2 days off, because I don't
Yeah.
think we're having football season this year. So
I was about to say, I never have time off. I finally got
somebody. I'm going to start training somebody privately, so I'm excited about that. It'll be my first one.
I'm supposed to get the St. Charles North coach on, but I don't know when.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, anyways, Bama, Ohio State. I think Bama wins, but I think it will be 10 points.
It's going to be that game who flinches first, who's going to make that mistake. And how healthy is Justin Fields? And then how much energy they just spend on this Clemson game.
I don't think Bama has flinched in 5 years.
Does Nick Saban flinch?
Yeah.
Can we talk about? I love.
He flinched when that freaking headset wouldn't work. He was pissed. I can't hear you.
Can we talk about
This ain't working.
and then he got a penalty yesterday.
Yeah, that guy is fired.
No, but what was that even about? Because he was yelling at a player, not a referee.
But he must have said no, he was yelling at the ref, like on the other side. They said like that ref missed something, so he was yelling at the ref. But then the ref next to him is the one that threw the flag.
Yeah, and it was like one of these chicken shitty flags too, where like, okay, he's not looking at me, and it fell out of my pocket.
Yeah,
Like,
his statement was like up in front of him. He threw it. Yeah,
like it was just kind of like a.
Because ever since Saban got tested positive for COVID, that mask doesn't come off until he's not around people. When it came off for him to yell, I'm like, oh, he's pissed.
Yeah,
Like he's mad. And then I love how he coaches. He's up 31-7. He just never stops.
No,
I love
because
it.
ultimately you're either coaching your stars of today or your stars of tomorrow.
And then when Smith dropped that onside kick, Saban was hot.
he was probably like, I don't give a shit if you won the Heisman. You're done.
Which, by the way, we're still voting on the Heisman, right? But basically, the announcers were saying Devontae Smith was winning it.
I mean, he should.
He should, but I mean, the votes aren't in. It's just kind of like fixing this leads right into the what the fuck NCAA.
2 hours later, we got here at 9 o'clock and it's 12:14. We're still rolling.
We do this every time.
I know.
Well, see, this usually we spend a half hour just debating what we're going to talk about. We're talking, and all of a sudden we were like, "Oh shit!"
Well, we went down some wild memory lanes that we won't think of.
The rated R version podcast, the rated X version of
made Tony Montana blush. But
you know, if Joe would talk about it, well, maybe Joe would.
Joe would, hands down. But no, college football playoff. I personally think it should be expanded because we're going to see the same teams in it next year, pretty close to. It's sad when you can say, all right, well, Ohio State will be in it unless Indiana can somehow knock them off.
Or Wisconsin.
Yeah, or Wisconsin. So, it's one of those three teams because it's going to be a Big Ten winner. And then Alabama. And in probably 2 years, LSU will be in the conversation to where maybe they could possibly both get in. Because I think Ogeron will get his stuff together, and I don't think he'll have Pelini in there. Well, I know they won't. So
They're fired, right?
Yeah.
1 year.
I think you're going to have Notre Dame with their independent schedule being like, we're Notre Dame. And ABC is going to be like, we should really get them in. It's great for the ratings. Because let's be honest, it isn't you literally have like maybe 10 teams in the NCAA fighting over 4 spots. Realistically, I would say it might even be smaller.
Or Oklahoma's going to sneak in again. We got to watch that. Even them. You want to talk about Notre Dame? Look at Oklahoma when they get in. Good God, that's going to happen again too.
Yeah, I say Oklahoma makes it next year, easy.
Yeah,
and watch them get throttled by Alabama again.
So let's take predictions. It'll be Alabama. I could see Oklahoma.
I don't think Ohio State goes back.
Ohio State and Clemson are going to be interesting because they're going to lose a lot.
Yeah, Clemson doesn't. Well, Clemson loses a running back, but let's be honest, they ain't losing anything at quarterback.
Yeah, that younger kid.
They're losing a proven winner, but they're replacing him with a kid who's going to be a proven winner.
I think Clemson's defense will get better because they're pretty young. And they're going to carry them. It's not going to be
how many of those guys are going to come back? Like that linebacker is not getting drafted, so he'll take a COVID year. Like that's the other thing you got to think about. Guys that aren't surefire picks, dude, they're going to take a COVID year and they're going to be a super senior.
Which
so I don't know.
real subject? How sweet would that have been from last year to have Andres Feliz on this team?
Oh my God.
We could have had the all Puerto Rican.
Yeah, who just plays pissed off.
All the time.
Because Feliz, he would always start stuff.
Yeah.
Ha, that's my buddy. Clemson is dead. Clemson is not dead. Caleb, you bum.
I was like, who is this? We have another fan. Where'd Jacob go?
No, I'm constantly. Steve. I promote your show. You should be happy. Yeah,
I'll give you that Ohio State
dead because Dabo won't let it die. But I think because he doesn't like Clemson. He doesn't like Clemson. He doesn't like Ohio State. So that was a tough game for him to watch. He was hoping that the whole place would just get hit by a nuke.
You said something for Jacob.
What did he say last week?
I don't know what part he's listening to.
I don't know. Jacob, were you here for Brad's hot sizzling take of Notre Dame?
My wife woke up, so I had to let the dogs out the door because I love my wife. They hate me. So,
yeah.
My God, they're knocking down everything in the house. Jesus.
I got dog.
Mom. No,
Yeah.
it'll be Bama, probably Oklahoma because they got it rolling all of a sudden.
Yep, Bama, Oklahoma, because ultimately you play this year for next year's teams, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Bama, Oklahoma. Who else is the media drooling about right now? I think Clemson's still in because with Notre Dame out of the conference, who's going to unseat them?
Nobody.
Nobody. So that Clemson's in,
and that whole coaching staff's coming back. Like you're going to have.
Yeah. So you've got the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, and I think Ohio State. I think it'll be the Big 10. There's your 4 finalists.
I think Ohio State drops a couple games next year.
But to who?
I think they could, but I don't know if they will.
I think if they play Wisconsin, they could very easily lose to Wisconsin.
What about Illinois? You think we'll get them?
We're talking about it right now.
Oh, we are on it right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I personally think so when I put it out on Twitter of 16, I was being kind of conservative because I was like, but then Mahomes' trainer, Bobby Stroop, he said 32 and just started at Thanksgiving. And honestly, why not? Have your top 25 voted on by the coaches, get 7 in, start it in Thanksgiving, cut down these stupid schedules, which is going to hurt smaller school football because you eliminate those pay games. But I don't know. Or if you want to do it, I think you take the top 40 teams and you rank them before the season starts. Take the top 40 and they each have to play a tier.
That's interesting. I can like that.
So you play one top 10 team, one top 20 team, and it's all decided before the season. But with all the contracts, that doesn't happen. But me and my buddy had talked about that 10 years ago because we were like, the BCS is broke.
Yeah.
At what point do you sit here and be like, the format's broke, or is it the people implementing the format? And I think that's what's broke.
Somebody said, go ahead.
I think the way schools are allowed to hoard talent creates this problem. Where it's like Alabama is allowed to have so many dudes on that roster that it doesn't allow any of those. Well, they're allowed to go to other schools, but they just won't.
Right.
But that's not Alabama's that's not Alabama's fault. That's being smart.
Yeah.
I know being smart, but I'm talking about if we're changing how the system works, Alabama is allowed to exist like that because they have so many scholarship spots available.
Well, they all have.
Honestly, if teams had to play good teams, at the beginning of the year, a top 20 team could easily be a top 10 team. I think that's a pretty wide open thing. And they get to pick one, and they say, you know what? This is our top 40 teams for this year. We got our top 40 teams, and you've got to play one from each one. Figure it out.
Somebody said, why not? I have to look more into this, but somebody told me regions. Like when you make it, you go play in this region. Like this is your playoff to get to the Final Four.
Well, then that would just be like the NCAA. So you have a Midwest region, East region, South region, West region, and then that would be like a 16-team playoff. You have 4 teams from each region. That would be 16 teams.
I'm all in on the idea of home playoff games.
Oh, if they did 32, that first round has got to be home playoff games. And I love
16. I think 16 with your first game being a home or away.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine
I think for the first 2 weeks of it, so for the 16 and the 8, there's only 1 week of prep. Screw this freaking, we're going to draw this out and make this like a 2-week extravagant. Because you want to know why they do it for 2 weeks? So the media can feed off of it for 1 week. Because they've got to hype it up and they've got to do all this crap. What if you just have 2 teams that have won 2 games in a row, in the playoff? They've already got momentum. You don't have to hype anything up. It's just, I don't know.
And it's a normal time frame. It's not this 11 days for this national championship. It's like we play on Saturday. You find out you're playing Saturday night or that Sunday morning, and it's next Saturday you got to play.
Yeah. There's another thing that I really hate about this system is that game last night was technically the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
That's not the Rose Bowl. That's a semifinal game.
Yeah.
So it makes the Rose Bowl pointless. Yes. And they give them the Rose Bowl trophy.
Yes.
What about the mayonnaise trophy?
Yeah.
What about the one that Wisconsin dropped?
The mayonnaise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they had the mayonnaise thing on top of it.
Next year it's going to be sponsored by Gorilla Glue.
No, but that's it makes no sense to me because the Rose Bowl is something that the Pac-12 and Big Ten care about.
Yeah.
And you've basically now made it pointless. It's still a semifinal game. People care about it. They'll spend money on it. Still let us have a Rose Bowl.
See what I think they should do. So I think we've kind of already talked about that. We go to that 16 teams, okay? Go to the 16 because honestly, I think the bigger the pool, the less politics there is. The more teams are going to get in. If you went to 32, there's nobody you could argue at 34 that deserves – because at that point, it's kind of okay, we've included everybody. Our top 25 is in, and we've taken –
how the NCAA tournament is.
Yeah.
By the time you get down there, it's no, you should be in the NIT.
Yeah. Yep. Right. And so what you do is, okay, every team has a home game, but be you're going to be our first round sponsors. And you guys are going to sponsor this game at Illinois. You're going to sponsor or wherever the playoff game may be. You're going to sponsor this game. And it's going to be yours.
Illinois home playoff. Chills when you said Illinois home playoff game.
Well, it would just be fun, right? But that's how you deal with all the bowl sponsorship stuff. You just say, you guys have got these first round games. And then I don't know how you do the big ones, though, like the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl. I think you're still going to come into that problem where it's not going to be Big 12 and Pac-12 or Pac-10.
If you go to this playoff system, there will be no longer that unless you make it like it is now. The Final Four is the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, and then you got the national championship. Or does the NIT become the bowl game? But then how many Big Ten teams are making the playoff? Then you're not going to have that.
Who cares about the Rose Bowl at that point?
Right, so you're not going to have it no more unless you make it the Final Four still. Okay, you've made it to the Rose Bowl to get to the national championship. Or does the Rose Bowl become the national championship?
What would the Final Four be? It would be the Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl,
Bourbon Bowl.
My dogs came back and said, "Haven't won a Bourbon Bowl."
Is it the Cotton Bowl?
I think the Cotton Bowl or the Capital. What is the Capital One? That was normally the one before all the big ones.
That was the one that Alabama beat Michigan in last year.
Yeah,
Outback Bowl's pretty big.
Can we talk about Illinois being the Fat Sandwich Bowl? Can we
Yeah.
just have that?
No. We want the Black Dog Barbecue Bowl. How cool would it be if they had a local sponsor for the game? Not as much money in it, but
Yeah,
this
the
is
Fat
the
Sandwich
Mayonnaise
Bowl.
Bowl sponsored by. No, Jimmy John's is too big. Farron's Pub. That's a good place. Best burgers in Illinois.
It'd be the Portillo's Bowl.
No. Keep that Chicago shit up north, Steve.
It's delicious. Don't get me started.
Keep that Chicago shit up there.
Hey, he went to the U of I, so
Well, that's great. Just like all Chicago people, they need to stay up there. Look at what.
herbs.
Ugh. All right. So, yeah. So I think 16 teams, home playoff games, figure out the sponsorships. Ooh, Citrus Bowl. There you go.
Is that it?
That might be something.
Yeah.
But then there's like the Capital One Bowl. That's like this, like, I remember that's a big one. That's like the second Big Ten team.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. It's usually on New Year's Day, but I think it got canceled
Yeah. Because I think it was Iowa, maybe. Was Iowa supposed to play in it?
because it's like the Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Capital One Bowl, Citrus Bowl,
They're all like the bigger ones.
right? And then then it leads into the Rose Bowl.
Okay, yeah. So it's
What if you did it like the NFL and you have like 32? You have the first game with all the sponsorships. And then after that, it's like, okay, if we have the number one Big Ten and the number one Pac-12, they're going to play in the Rose Bowl. And you
So-
align.
it was Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl.
Okay.
Those are like the big four.
So that'd be like your final 8 teams would play in those 4 games.
Yeah. But then again, I remember the Fiesta Bowl being big too.
Yeah, the Fiesta Bowl was huge.
I need to play NCAA 14 some more.
Yes.
This is making me
Well,
wonder
we
if I
started
should
with
seriously-
Dynasty.
When life made sense.
I did not get NCAA 14. I was that idiot that was like, oh, this game's not going anywhere. I'll just wait to buy it. Nope. What an idiot.
It went somewhere.
So I only
Never-
got to 13.
It went out for milk and cigarettes and never came back.
I can get it for $185.
I'll give you my copy.
Oh, I have still have my 360. It's sitting over there plugged in. I play NCAA on it.
It's the only reason I still have a PS2.
Oh,
Once
I'm
every like
too.
3 months, I fire up NCAA football.
To play, remember we would play, because that's when we would do like Eastern Illinois versus Western Illinois. And Eastern Illinois had like a speed rating of like 25. It was awful.
Unbelievably slow.
Yeah, but when you get that first 3-star recruit to come there, makes
Well,
you feel good.
That's when you're
Running around.
Yeah. You get the local 3-star kid that you recruited your ass off and spent all your points.
No, my favorite thing was always like when you were in a kind of halfway school like Illinois, you could never get any other 5-star player, but you could always get like one 5-star receiver.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you could ever get.
So you want to know what I started doing on 2K8 was on the basketball game was I would go after all the international players because they don't get recruited very much. So you're the only option. I'd have like one of the not best. They would all be like, I don't understand how they did the ratings because they'd all be 5 stars, but they would somehow like, I never got like a top 10 recruiting class because they weren't top 10, but they were 5-star international. I don't get it.
my problem was the first time if I played it today, I would recruit really hard the first like 2 or 3 seasons. I would sit there and recruit. Then after that, I'm like, I'm bored. I'm going to simulate this. But if I was at a shitty school and I finally got that 4-star receiver, that's when I'd left all the time. I was like, my ass is leaving. I'd go somewhere else. Off to like Texas State. I'd be like, I'm going to Texas State now.
Yep.
Or you got to Illinois, then you're like, you know what? I'm bored. I'm going to LSU. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Yeah, it's like Illinois, my dream school, finally wants me. There for like 2 years. Like,
Well-
this guy sucks. I get why no one stays here.
Anyway, so yeah, I think at least 16, if not 32, home playoff games are a must. I think that's a must because that just helps out the universities, right? Like,
Yeah.
Because can you imagine, like, let's say LSU was ranked this year, but below Coastal Carolina. Could you imagine Coastal Carolina's place with LSU coming into town?
how freaking crazy! What could you imagine Illinois with LSU coming in?
Yeah, that place would be sold out. That place would be
Dude, it would be rocking. That'd be
I
the
would
most electric Memorial Stadium's been in like 25 years.
Yeah, I would go just see Coach O.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
I'd go
And
with an
you-
Illinois hoodie on and an LSU hat on and be like, "Coach O, you're my boy. You're
Yeah.
my
I
boy
mean,
too."
honestly, like I think that home playoff games should most definitely be something. And to do that, you need to at least have 16 teams.
Because it works at the FCS or the FCS level, and it's beautiful. Like when EIU had their home playoff game with Jimmy G, that place was sold out, and it was snowing, but people, it was
But it's a home playoff game. People feel like it matters.
right.
How many people feel like the MicronPC.com Bowl mattered?
Or like that Mayo Bowl. I'm like, Wisconsin, you're Mayo champs, and no one will take that away from you. But
And they have problems with like, okay, if a big team, say like a Michigan or something, is in some pissy ass bowl, they don't have the fans that travel because it's a piss bucket bowl.
and then
You know?
how many starters sit out?
Yeah, and having a home game like that means something.
100% it means something.
So to me, like that's your season ticket holders at least are going to be there.
I kind of like what you said with the top 32 because one of the problems was, well, what about conference champions? Because I said the top 25, and they said, but what if a conference champion is below the top 25? They don't get in.
Like,
Yeah.
Oregon.
If you make it 32, then say, okay, top 32, conference champions, not Power 5, but like if you're Division 1, you're a conference champion, you get in. Is it possible to do that? Because there's a lot. That's where the problem's going to show up.
I mean, that would suck if you're like the Sun Belt champion. Like, you don't need to be in that.
But that's where because someone brought that up to me. Like I said, top 25, because the top 25 used to mean something. Like we're in the top 25. Now it's like if you're not the top 4 or top 6, no one cares.
Yeah.
So then I said top 25, and then someone told me that. They said, well, what about
not even top 6 or 8 in like the polls, it's the college football playoff ranking.
Right.
That's the only thing that matters. So it's like, oh, well, the coaches can think one thing, the press can think another, and damn it, that committee, they think that I'm here.
Yeah.
This says there are 10 Division 1 conferences.
Oh, hell, then 16 would be even workable.
Yeah, 16 works fine there. Because you get your
largest.
Lions.
Right. So if there's 10, top 16 or top 25, you make sure all your conference champions get in, your at-large gets in or on the bubble. Then there's no more debate. 16, 25, 32, any three would work. You could have the top 10. You could have your conference champions and your 6 at large for the 16.
Yep.
First round is the home playoff games. They get sponsored, and then you move your way on to the Elite Eight with those bowl games, and then move on to a conference champion or the national champion.
Yeah.
So NCAA, you need to pay us because we fixed your targeting rule and we just fixed your playoff system.
Yes.
All right. So this is the last thing I'll say before I probably need to get off of here. When you talk shit to the NCAA, you have to tag them in the tweet.
I thought I did.
Come on, Steve.
I thought I did.
If you don't tag them, how are they going to know?
Can we get an edit button on Twitter?
An edit button?
Yeah.
No.
We were originally posted.
No. Because tweets are like thoughts that have to live forever. Yeah, I've tweeted some stuff in my life that do I wish I could go back and edit? Absolutely. But it's it's my personal record at this point.
I'm going to overdo your thought so I can get out from under the shit. Someone said, "What about Gus Malzahn to Texas?"
Yeah. No.
I think it's the same thing they just had.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't know. Just make Matthew McConaughey your head coach.
All right, all right, all right.
He's like, his official title there is like the Minister of Culture,
Mhm.
and he just walks around like.
They
Can you
create
imagine having a class taught by him? Probably sitting naked up in front of class, beating on some bongos, smoking a joint, just doing his thing.
He's super interesting dude. I'd go to that's one class I would never skip.
Yeah.
I would like never skipped biochemistry because I wasn't smart enough to skip it. I would never skip Matthew McConaughey's class.
Yeah. He would be one,
What
like,
about Mike
I would try
Leach's
and make
class?
a genuine connection with him because I feel like he would actually get you through some life scenarios.
I mean, he just wrote a book about like walking through his life and all the shitty parts of it and how he got through it. And it's actually like, it sounds really good. I'd like to read it right after I finish Coach O's book.
I can't remember. I listened to him and Russell Brand talk, like on like a, yeah.
Weird pairing.
Yes.
because of his podcast.
Yes, because of Russell Brand's podcast. And he was talking about like the political divide. And he was like, we're both on each side of the road, but what we don't realize is a lot of us are standing on the middle stripe, but nobody can even see it.
Yeah.
Because of the way. So it was a really interesting take. Like, I really liked it.
Did you listen to his thing with Samuel Acho?
Uh-uh.
Samuel Acho did a show. It's called like Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man.
Yeah.
And theirs was actually super interesting. Because I had forgotten that Samuel Acho went to Texas.
Yeah. Yep.
So they have kind of like that Texas connection. It was
Right.
really good. I don't know if that's your thing, but it was a good video.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go, Brad. I fixed it.
You did? I was about to say, all I ask, Steve, is that you just have the
I thought I did, but I was
Man,
trying
We're gonna bash like high level committees. Let's bash them.
yeah, isn't like Condoleezza Rice on the committee?
What does she know about football?
I don't know, but she's on the playoff committee.
Yeah.
why.
I don't know.
I think it's just if you know somebody and you want a free stipend of probably $150,000, you get put on the playoff committee.
We got to work harder to find some blackmail on these people so we can just get on there. We got to work way harder.
Steve, you just got to know the right people. They can tell you whatever you need to know.
Well, I think part of it is you at least have to maintain like some kind of unbiased opinion. And I think
Ohio State would never make it.
I've biased myself about certain programs on this show.
Notre Dame and Ohio State would never make the playoff if we were on there. Like, nope, you guys are out.
But if we say that they deserve to be in there, they probably really deserve to be in there. You know what I mean?
Because, Brad, you weren't here when I told Nathan, Illinois fans, we're not too high, we're not too low, we're right in the middle. We know we can see everything. We're the perfect fan.
It's true. I think everyone on that committee needs to have rooted for a school that's just bad at sports.
Yes.
Lowly mediocre.
Yeah, exactly. Like you go to a Rose Bowl every 20 years.
And we celebrate it like it's the championship.
Yeah.
And we
then
get blown out.
And then we beat an NFL quarterback once every so often.
An NFL Rookie of the Year quarterback.
And then we go get our Red Box movies.
Yep.
And then we're good.
Do you remember? Oh God, when we were in the it's like the Bloomin' Onion Bowl or something, or is the Texas Bowl, and they were like, "Well, what did the Illinois players get as gifts?" And they're like, they gave them belt buckles. And then one of the New Year's Bowls, everyone got like a brand new Xbox 360.
So I just want you guys to know that Illinois played in the MicronPC.com Bowl, That site is not even foundable now. I just tried to look it up.
That wasn't a real. I thought you were making that up.
No, that was a real bull. That's how I knew
Ugh.
How many bowl game names are just gone? We see them one year and then they're just gone.
it. They spend all of that money. It's kind of like Ryan's marketing for Woof.
Yeah.
Oh, you see Woof condoms. It's like, we got to get ourselves a bowl game. And then they're out of business in like 6 months.
Yeah. Like, what is
Speaking of which, F you, Netflix. The Office is officially gone.
Hey, shout out Logan Lee, though. You can buy the entire series for like $30 right now.
On Vudu.
Voodoo, yeah.
I don't even know what Voodoo is.
It's a
It's like digital movies. So instead of buying a DVD,
You can buy all the seasons?
yeah,
I think it's only good until tonight or tomorrow.
yeah.
Oh, shit. I better
They
get
ran
on.
a special, which is smart. But
Yeah.
little fun fact: when I worked for Family Video, like when they get the DVDs in, all they do is buy the Blu-rays. So it always comes with the little Voodoo insert in it. We would just pocket those and take it home. So I've got a huge library of digital movies that I never paid for.
Suck it, Family Video.
Yeah.
They were actually going to be the first Netflix, Brad, but they wondered why they never got the inserts.
Well, sucks to suck, bud.
And we wouldn't have had movies like Thanksgiving on Netflix. That
Well-
was the great thing about Netflix was the B-rated movies. They've gotten too mainstream.
Early Netflix before they started to church it up.
Yeah, I searched Thanksgiving. It's not even on there. And that was like one of the OGs.
Yeah. Thanksgiving, Rubber.
Oh,
There was a time when Killer Clowns from Outer Space was on there.
it is still on there.
It is.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
Now all we see is Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg movies.
Actually, that Halloween one wasn't that bad.
Dude, the wrong Missy with David Spade was hilarious.
I haven't watched that one yet.
I'm afraid
You
of-
need to watch that.
Yeah.
Dude, the David Spade ones are really funny. Father of the Year.
I was afraid to watch that too because I'm like, is this just going to be not funny?
No. Dude, the wrong Missy is freaking hilarious.
Huh. Yeah. I'll check it out. Just
What was the movie where Adam Sandler was like the undercover cop, but he really wasn't? And
The Do-Over.
well, I watched that one. I was like, okay, this is kind of funny. It kind of isn't.
Are you?
Not Adam Sandler's role.
I'm the manager of a bank. But it's in a grocery store, so you work for the grocery store. No, but I'm the manager for the bank. If the grocery store is closed, is your bank closed? Yes. Then you work for the grocery store. I'm telling you. So, like, we all think, right, that like good movies are only in theaters, but now that the theaters are closed, like, honestly, like, Netflix is coming out with some good. Dude, Ozarks is like my favorite TV series.
Well, they just finished a movie with The Rock and who plays Deadpool? What's his face?
right.
They filmed a movie for Netflix and they just got done. Red Notice or something.
But I mean, Netflix has to keep raising the rates because they got to actually like come out with these movies. And honestly, like, dude, Adam Sandler movies are like something that stands the test of time. You can go watch Happy Gilmore right now, and it would still make you laugh.
Well, I think Netflix did a cool thing with him where it's just like, we don't have movies for you right now, but we're signing you to a 10-movie contract.
Yeah.
You just have to do 10 of these.
Yep. And
What's the movie where he's
think
a gambler or like a
Sandy Wexler, I haven't seen that one.
no? What's the one with Kevin Garnett in it?
Yeah. Yeah, because he like sells Kevin Garnett's championship ring.
Yeah, I heard that was really good. People said that was like his like one of his best acting he's ever done.
Yeah.
Really?
Which actually, have you ever watched The Cobbler?
No, I don't think so.
It was one of his, like, it was on the list of Netflix stuff. It's more of a serious movie, but it's really good.
Huh.
Yeah. Adam
We
Sandler
totally drifted from.
is a good actor.
I feel like Logan Lee should be calling in at any point in time now.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, the new Wonder Woman movie is a snoozer. I fell asleep during it.
That's what I heard.
It was that great that I fell asleep, and so did my wife. And we both loved the first Wonder Woman, and it was so disappointing. And I don't know if it's because I can't take Kristen Wiig serious.
Is she in it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, there are some people that
what
just
you should
can't be in those movies.
Yeah. I saw her from like the character of Bridesmaids, which is a great movie, and I just can't see her as anything else.
Yeah. I will say I saw the first preview for WandaVision. That
Yeah.
looked awesome.
I'm just confused. I'm more confused. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But then someone put up the picture. If you look at the title, it says Wanda, then there's an equal sign, Vision. Now they're like, what does that mean? And I was like, quit doing this to me, guys. Now
Isn't
you're
she, like, going back in time because she can't live without Vision and like basically fucks up the whole time continuum.
I think so, because it's supposed to go into Doctor Strange's multiverse of madness. So does she like open that up? And then Loki's supposed to mix into Doctor Strange too.
Yeah, Loki's actually going to have his own series, right?
But it's supposed to go into that movie. I'm like, but how? He's in a different time. Like,
Because she's going to mess with the continuum, which screws up everything.
I feel like
And she's going to pluck him out,
and
then
then
it's going to screw up everything.
and then McGuire was seen walking in to talk about the Spider-Man movie.
That's going to be a multiverse.
yeah, that has to be.
Because Doctor Strange is going to be in that Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, so it's going to be a multiverse supposedly, because all my kids were telling me about that because they love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And I was like, what the heck?
What up?
Be
Movies now.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. Marvel's got a weird way to go here. We'll see what happens.
I think what they have to do is create a new, like, I don't know if they have to create a new one, but they need their next version of Iron Man, the like center point for the rest of the characters.
That's what Spider-Man's supposed to be.
Oh,
Maybe. I don't know. I just heard that we all knew WandaVision like starts the Doctor Strange movie, and then Doctor Strange, and then so does the Spider-Man movie because he's in it for a little bit. But now they're saying that the Loki series could involve that as well. And I was like, but wait a minute, they're a completely different thing.
You know what? Let's be honest. When we watched Iron Man, we had no clue what was about to come.
no.
No.
And shout out to Jon Favreau, who basically made it all possible.
Was he in Daredevil as that same character?
No.
So he was in Daredevil.
Because someone put up a picture of him walking with Daredevil, put up a picture of him walking with Iron Man and Spider-Man. They said, this is how the movies are connected. That's the same character. And I said, what?
I would have to look, but I'm pretty sure he was an attorney in the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck's character. Is that Ben Affleck? Yeah. No,
because he might be in the Spider-Man too. That guy that plays the Daredevil. They said he might be coming in too. And I'm like, now they're just getting crazy.
No, I hate the end of this Marvel group. Like, how every time somebody attacked New York, did you not at least see Daredevil or Luke Cage?
But that's where this Doctor Strange and WandaVision are kind of like different. The multiverse. So like we're in a different. They're supposed to, the MCU's in a different one, like a different world
universe. Yeah.
Universe.
So Luke Cage doesn't exist in the Tony Stark.
And neither does like the Daredevil stuff.
But they talk about it in Defenders. They talk about the alien invasion.
Well, then they screwed up and we found a plot hole. They finally got them.
But see, if it's outside the MCU realm of like they don't have a lot of say in what's being filmed, that stuff happens. If it's not in the core of the Disney MCU, that stuff kind of happens. But they're very good at fixing it. The writing they do are very good at fixing it. And that's why they're talking about X-Men coming in. And they were like, well, why haven't they been there the whole time? They said, well, they're in a different multiverse.
So basically, Doctor Strange is the key to everything.
Thank God. We need Benedict Cumberbatch to be in charge of everything.
I'm gonna have to do a lot of drugs before I watch that Doctor Strange one.
They said it's supposed to be the first horror like MCU.
Oh.
Let's be honest. They don't. And so when I listen to you and Logan talk, like DC just needs to accept the fact that they're like the dark stories and quit trying to be like Marvel.
Right.
Because you guys were like talking about that, and it's like, no, DC did pretty damn well with that last Batman series with Christian Bale.
No. That's the only thing I watched.
It was just after that they tried to be Marvel, and you can't be Marvel.
I
You
probably
need to
said the wrong-
embrace who you are.
I probably said the wrong Batman because those 3 Batmans are really, really good.
Yeah.
I probably said the other ones, but like his are just perfect.
No, but they need to accept that they're the darker comic books.
Right.
They're not the light humor. And like they're gonna be the brand that skews more towards the rated R.
Right.
Because of the deepness and the darkness to it. Kind of like the Joker movie. Like people didn't like that, and I loved it. I was
I
just like,
love that
I
movie.
still haven't
Yeah.
seen
I was like, well, if anything, maybe people will think about how they treat one another after this movie.
That didn't work.
No, 'cause it only got worse. But I personally, I thought that was an amazing movie. And then somebody at the end was like, what if he just imagined all of this and nothing happened? And it was like, holy God. Well, Murray.
Yeah, he's Joaquin Phoenix is like super underrated as an actor. Have you ever seen Her,
Yes.
where he like falls in love with his computer program?
Yep.
That movie was so good.
Yeah. And people just don't even.
Never seen it.
A bunch of people haven't seen it. Yeah.
Was it We Own the Night? That was a good ass movie.
Well, then DC's trying to save themselves with The Rock.
You want to know why? I forgot. Wait, did I tell you this, Steve? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. So
Maybe.
I was talking with somebody about this. You want to know why DC is bringing in The Rock? Because of China. That's why. Look at the top 10 movies in Chinese box office. And if you want to hit it big, where do you hit it big? You got to make it big in China. The Rock's movies aren't great over here, but they're top 10 in China. Go look it up. It's like crazy. Let me look it up. Top 10 Chinese or top 10 films gross in, oh, I misspelled gross.
And then The Rock gets a lot of say in what happens because he's bringing his production company with him. DC,
Well, yeah.
sure, go ahead. Marvel was like, no, because they wanted The Rock to come to Marvel. And he was like, but I have my production company, so I get some say. And they laughed at him. They're like, no, we know what we're doing.
Yeah. What would he have played?
This was way before. So, like, I think there's villains they haven't even introduced yet.
Oh, gotcha.
And so they thought about it. I could have seen him playing like Thanos at one point, but then
I
like,
was just about to say Thanos would have been cool.
but I like how they handled Thanos. So
Yeah.
I think they,
You realize Josh Brolin was the villain in both of the bigger Marvel movies? He was Cable and Deadpool. And he was.
They made a Thanos joke in Deadpool,
They
and
did.
it's so good.
Yeah.
he's
Those are my favorite Marvel movies.
he's supposed to pop up here too at some point.
Deadpool.
Yeah, he's coming to the MCU. They bought the right. They have the rights to him. I think.
Oh, they did.
Then
But-
Disney's gonna ruin that character.
I heard they might just to make it R rated still, just to make it. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
Disney
didn't
more.
Disney come out? Disney came out and said, like, we realize at a certain point these have to skew R rated.
I think they're coming out with like an adult Disney thing so they could have these R movies.
Like a section of Disney that when they fuck up real bad, Disney can be like, disavow. Yeah.
No, but that's why I think they brought in The Rock was because he's big overseas.
Take it easy, Thanos. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, Logan's the head of my entertainment production side of the podcast. He'd tell me, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
that Disney thing that one day, I think they said they didn't want to go to like an adult version. I think it's for Deadpool. I think that's the whole reason why. I think they were like, "Oh, we're gonna bring Deadpool. We have to have."
Where the Avengers movies would be if they were like rated R, though.
Oh, they'd
Like,
be awesome.
it would be more like gruesome.
Yeah.
Like,
Can
so
we-
that battle at the end of Endgame, you know, like
Yeah.
they show Thanos' head getting cut off. They could really show it. Like the axe gets stuck halfway through and he's got to do it again or something, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
Have you read like the original scripts for those Infinity War and Endgame? They were supposed to be way darker than what they were, like dark. And then like they read it and they're like, they may not be ready for this.
Well, even Infinity War, the first time I watched that, I was like, oh, this got darker than I was prepared for with a Marvel movie. And it wasn't that dark. Like I rewatch it now and I'm just like, oh, the good guys just didn't win.
yeah.
Did you remember when Natasha died for that stone? Did you see the original filming of that? Thanos' army shows up while they're arguing and fights them. And they're shooting at Hawkeye, and she runs out in front of it, and they just shoot her for like a minute straight. And then she falls down through that thing.
Oh.
And they were like, this just probably won't work. And I was
You
like,
know how much stuff that they filmed though to throw like the actors off so there was no spoilers? Because like Tom Holland's like the worst with spoilers.
mhm.
Like he like always screws up.
Well, do you ever watch those like British talk show things? And Robert Downey Jr. had to be like, stop.
They gave them fake scripts, like Marvel. Like the
Yeah.
Endgame, they gave them fake scripts after Infinity War. And so they thought they were going into something like, well, we're doing this instead.
Yeah, and like
think about how much
they
they
had
had to lose.
nobody knew who was getting snapped.
Yeah, nobody knew.
Yeah.
Like they had so much to lose if one of the people leaked that out.
Yeah.
What's the wrestler's name? David, whatever, who plays in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Batista.
He sort of let it slip about Endgame. He talked about filming. They're like, but you were snapped in Infinity War. And he realized, he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Well, no. Okay. So we were rewatching Infinity War like probably last week. And I told my girlfriend, I'm like, if this was realistic, Tony Stark is smart enough that the second Peter Quill flew up to Thanos, he would have shot him.
If he knew, but he didn't know because
He had no idea.
didn't tell him.
What are you talking about?
You talking about when Quill flew up to Thanos when they were taking the glove off?
Yeah. Like the second he started to get fired up,
Mm-hmm.
he could have just shot him.
But see, he didn't know about Thanos' daughter, didn't know about any of that.
But at that point, like you're so close.
But realistically, if you're Peter Quill, you run and try to pull the glove off instead of just going up to him.
No, I think that was one of the most relatable scenes in a movie I've ever seen. Whereas like that was the love of his life.
But remember, Chris Pratt can't act. Remember that?
I mean, he can act.
Oh, he's taken a lot of heat over the past like 3
Yeah.
months.
But like that to me was relatable.
Can we get
But
Guardians of the
that also
Galaxy
would've made
3 rated
sense.
R? Get Guardians of the Galaxy 3 rated R?
What was that?
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, can that be rated R?
Those movies work because they're like,
Can you get Rocket to be rated R?
yes, I want a Rocket movie where it's just him stealing shit and
Him
killing.
and Deadpool together.
I want to find out if he ever stole what's his name's arm, the Winter Soldier's arm.
Yeah, I got to get that arm.
I'm gonna get that arm.
Well, we'll see in the Falcon and that TV series. We'll find out.
Is that going to be a TV series?
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Oh, another thing. Did you like the
He's
first?
down a wormhole.
I know. Did you like the first Iron Man's? Basically, like Anthony Stark's best friend that was in the Air Force. What's his name? Because
Yeah.
I like Don Cheadle. I think he was better than the first dude.
Oh, you're talking about the dude from Hustle and Flow.
Yeah. Ricky wishes that guy would have been in it for the whole time. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
That's way better.
Don Cheadle's way better at that.
Because all I can see is the dude from Hustle and Flow when I see that guy.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, when we were talking about it the first time, I was like, are you talking about Cuba Gooding Jr.? It's not. It's not Cuba Gooding. They kind of look close. But they do.
Maybe.
All right.
Or was that really racist, what I just said? It might have
Yeah, see, and
Not
you
the
can't.
worst thing I've ever heard.
you can't
but-
edit that.
I didn't think it was that bad.
No, if you took a quick glance, I would say there's similar body types and stuff.
Terrence Howard.
Howard, there we go.
Thanks.
Thanks, dude. He is our Jamie.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I love how we talked sports for a while. And then we just went down Logan Lee's rabbit hole of let's talk movies.
And we're sitting at 3 hours again.
We did it.
Joe Rogan would be proud. We did.
No,
it.
actually, about 4 if you talk the time that we talked before.
Yeah, 'cause it's 1 p.m.
Yeah, we started at like 8:45.
We
Yeah,
are all,
My ass is asleep.
we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. All right. Are we done?
Well, I didn't know we're going to keep going down fucking rabbit holes with.
I'm
No,
done.
no.
I've got shit to do with my day.
Yeah, he had a full day planned at 9. He's
Oh,
now
there we
cut
go.
that in half. And at 3:00, Illinois plays or something like that. So
No, Illinois started playing at 11:30, I thought.
No, that was
Yeah.
Indiana and
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
yeah, Indiana plays.
we play today at 5. So you got some time, Brad.
Okay, I got time.
Yeah, you got some time, buddy.
It's mainly just I got to change oil in vehicles.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's like the one perk to having a
Old-
Jeep, though. It's like
Old
high
Miss,
up off the ground. I don't have to jack it up.
Old
That's
Miss is
cool.
winning 13-3 on Indiana.
Who?
Really?
Old Miss is winning 13-3 against Indiana right before halftime.
Okay. Indiana.
Is Penix
Yeah.
playing?
No, he's out. ACL.
See that Indiana's jerseys didn't have the Big Ten logo on them.
Nice.
Nice.
I
Good
need-
for them.
There was 2 reports. The first report I saw was Indiana's taking a shot at the Big Ten and not having their logo on the jersey, and it showed their jersey with no logo. And then this morning it said Tom Allen responds, and I just haven't read it yet.
Nice. Good.
I hope they stayed with it.
Yeah. Kind of like Jordan not wanting to wear the Reebok stuff for the Olympics or whatever it was.
Just
Yeah.
put a flag over it. You're fine.
Yeah. Put the flag over it.
That was awesome. I love Michael Jordan.
Yes.
I could do a Last Dance too. Just more.
Yeah.
All,
Except we would. Yeah,
I
all
want-
the outtakes.
I want Last Dance 2, all degenerate gambling.
Dude, the classic is that curly headed dude that was part of the security.
Dan Shrug. Yeah. Like, actually, I wanted a full episode of just his security guys telling stories.
Oh my God.
Could
Can
you
you imagine?
There's no way they would have let that happen. But I would pay any amount of money to watch
What
it.
if MJ, like, at the end of his time, is like, you know what? Let's just talk about everything.
Well, they filmed a lot of that and they said
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
So it's out there.
And Michael Jordan's safe.
It's in a film vault in the
Yeah.
Jordan residence.
I hope. I for everyone's sake, I hope they release it.
I heard that they were going to release a Kobe Bryant one just like this one.
Now,
Because he,
see,
had-
I watched that too.
he had
I would
cameras
watch that.
around him for a while. And I'm
But
sure
I don't
Shaq
think-
had cameras on him at the beginning.
I think Kobe was Jordan without the bad personal life stuff.
Oh, read the book. I just finished that Showboat book on Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
Stuff I didn't know.
But like, he didn't have a gambling problem.
No, but he
He didn't.
family problems. He had money problems.
Yeah,
Oh,
but what professional athlete doesn't have side?
Like they
check?
bought a professional team in Europe
Right,
for his
yeah.
dad to run, and his dad ran into the ground, and Kobe was putting millions of dollars in it.
Oh, yeah,
And of course, the Colorado thing.
yeah.
That's a weird thing, Steve. We can talk about that at some point in time, but I think that there's some weird theories about that.
All right,
Have I ever talked to you guys about the fact that I don't think Magic Johnson ever got AIDS?
that is just not a thing.
No. Watch South Park. It's real.
No,
No.
he never had AIDS. Like, if you look at him, he ballooned up for a period of time, which is part of that cocktail. It's also part of what athletes do when they retire. Okay.
Yeah.
So, my theory, hear me out, is that he never actually had AIDS. He was nearing the end of his career, had lost a step. And this is during the like peak of the AIDS epidemic. So they needed somebody in public view who was, they're just figuring out straight people could get AIDS. They paid him an unbelievable amount of money to come out and say that he had AIDS. He gets to step away from basketball and never had to deal with his decline. Became like the figurehead of the AIDS movement. And then he lost it and was like, I need to be part of the dream team. And came back and did that. You're going to tell me it doesn't?
I don't know if I can reach down far enough to pull you out of that rabbit hole.
Brad, some people would call you a conspiracy theorist for that.
Well, you know what? That's fine. Because in
You want
reality,
to talk
I know the
fun
truth.
stuff, though, just hit the stop button.
I know the truth.
Yeah, do I need to hit the end broadcast button?
Yeah.
I just had to get that out there because, you know, you can believe it or not, but
Well, that's officially on record, but what I want to talk about is off record.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. We're going to stop.
Magic Johnson never had AIDS.
Hot sauce out.